Still a little bit later today. Then into Wednesday, things calm back down. Mostly cloudy skies, highs towards the upper 60s, approaching 70. By Thursday, 72 degrees, mostly cloudy. Friday, more chances of showers and storms. Temperatures continue to rise, though, through Memorial Day weekend. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Gosh.
We know it's early. Mike's not totally awake yet either. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning on NewsTalkSTL.
Okay, a lot of interesting stuff happening in the news. The Luigi Mangione case had some updates where the judge was deciding which evidence can be admitted and used and debated and which can't. We've actually got kind of an expert opinion on that here right around. Well, we'll do that in the 7 o'clock hour. Should be pretty interesting stuff. Hey, good morning. Mike Ferguson here. Thanks for making News Talk STL part of this Tuesday morning. We had a kind of a short notice discussion with Kurt Barr, the director of elections for St. Charles County, kind of responding to that controversy that came out of central Missouri. And this is the one where the Boone County clerk kind of pushed back against Secretary of State Denny Hoskins, saying, listen, we got to know what's going on with the maps. And the Supreme Court has issued a ruling, but we've also got the referendum thing going on. And we originally kind of thought, well, this is just a partisan Democrat making her name versus a Republican, but there may be more to it. And Kurt gave us his perspective on it because him being a Republican, being a conservative, it turns out that he's got a few of the same concerns. Here's how that conversation went.
You know, last week we had the ruling from the state Supreme Court regarding the 7-1 maps that were signed into law last year. And Brianna Lennon, the Boone County clerk, she raised an objection saying, I'm not updating our voter rolls because Boone County is one of those that got moved, a lot of it from one district to another.
Boone County has the most change of any county in the state with these two maps. Yes.
And so she says, but there's a chance that we're going to use the other maps. We need some clarity.
Yes.
And of course, we kind of, being conservative media, kind of went, yeah, you got a Democrat pushing back against a Republican and that sort of thing. And so we kind of left it at that. And Susie pointed out, she goes, well, yeah, but technically there's actually a thing. It's probably not going to happen. So we're like, okay, we're going to leave room for that. Well, then I come in this morning and I'm reading multiple articles, both kind of down the middle, which Missouri Net's kind of down the middle. I think they're pretty objective. And then the Missouri Independent, which is definitely left of center. Well, you're quoted in both of those.
Yes.
Here you are, Republican. You are in support of the new maps.
Yes.
You've been very public about that. But you're also saying maybe she's got a point, and it doesn't have to do with the partisan side of it. It has to do with the timing of it. So what are the things that we actually need to keep in mind about this, that it's settled, but just for now, and maybe not totally settled? And what could that mean for the elections?
Yeah. So an earlier ruling, the courts are like, yes, the legislature has the legal right to change the map. So that was settled. The 7-1 map is law. Great. But then the next question, which the courts half answered last week, was, okay, the 7-1 map is in effect as of now. However, if this referendum, if enough signatures are valid that this map is a referendum vote in the November election, Missouri law will stay the 7-1 map, revert back to the 6-2 map. All right. So, and then the courts basically said, Secretary of State, only you can certify the sufficiency of these signatures.
By Missouri law.
By Missouri law. We need you to do that. And so they basically said, we're in a holding pattern until the Secretary of State takes action.
Right.
And and so Brianna Lennon sent in a very nice one-page letter saying, because of how challenging it is to change the system, to update this, because our database, the MCVR voter registration database, is an antiquated system, and it can't take a GIS shapefile and just upload it. So
explain what that means. Okay, because you just say
so the mapping guys, the ones who do these really cool maps, they have a file type called a shapefile that you can take the data of all these addresses and whatnot and just upload it into the system and poof, change a map. Right? So it's a way that when you look at all these maps online, that's how they're doing it. Our system, you have to go line by line, street by street, and manually update it. It is a laborious process. And then you also need to audit that to make sure you do it right, because otherwise you'll be giving somebody the wrong ballot, right? Not intentionally, but unintentionally. All right. So there's a time frame that takes clerks and election authorities to update our system because our system is old and antiquated. So she's like, hey, I have this current map. I'm have to switch this other map, and then I may have to switch back. There isn't sufficient time for this. If you will rule on the sufficiency of the signatures, give clarity to the courts, we'll all know which map we're working on. Because what we all want, the Clerks Association wants, is the voters voting on the same map, whether it's the 6-2 or 7-1, because what's going to happen right now, if the Secretary of State doesn't make a decision until August 4th, which is the deadline, the statute says you have to decide by that point. Mm-hmm. He could do it sooner, but by that point, he has to decide. But if he waits until August 4th and we do the primary under a 7-1 map, and then he finds that there's enough signatures for the referendum vote,
which seems
then the courts are going to say, okay, well, the 7-1 map isn't a legal map, but they're not going to say as of August 4th. They're going to say as of December when those signatures were filed. So therefore, we just ran an illegal election. And so then there's a couple of things that could happen. One of the candidates who lost could sue and say, I lost because of this illegal map. The state now must run a special election. And so we're going to run and the courts may authorize it, where we'll run a separate primary just for the congressional seats between August and November. And that would be, the bill would go to the state, and that's a $7 to $9 million bill because Denny Hoskins hasn't made a decision yet.
Yeah, and it seems, and the Secretary has been on this show, and a couple times he has said they probably have the raw numbers. Mm-hmm. But Missouri law says he's got until August 4th, which happens to be the primary. Okay, so outside of whether you like or don't like the maps, and I'm trying to separate we're talking, you're in charge of making the elections in St. Charles County be accurate.
Correct.
So let's take the best case scenario. Let's take the worst case scenario. Best case scenario, it somehow shakes out. The map is the map, and that's the way it's going to be through the end of the year. Then it's just a matter of you just have to update it one time. That seems to be the best case scenario at this point.
Correct.
The worst case scenario is what you just described. We have the primary election on the 4th. The Secretary of State's office on the 4th or on the 4th says, okay, they do have enough valid signatures to put this map up for a referendum. Mm-hmm. Okay, what now from that local perspective?
Right. So the worst case scenario is the courts say not only undo it, go back to the 6-2 map, but run us a special primary and redo that election you just did in a truncated space of time. Another possible option, and I think this is what Denny Hoskins is hoping for, is that under federal law, the courts have ruled in the past that if there isn't enough time to make these changes, that even though technically the 7-1 map had been stayed because of the referendum, in federal court, they have said, okay, there's not enough time, so we're just going to go with the 7-1 map, go with the map you have, because you can't logistically make the change. And I think that is Secretary Hoskins' goal, is to run down the clock and force the courts to rule for the 7-1 map, which is his preference, because he knows and everybody else knows there isn't enough time to switch everything back. So I think that's his goal. Now, that's assuming the state court will make that determination that other federal courts have made in the past, as opposed to saying, suck it up, do another election, which is also just as a possible solution. Yeah. And so what Brianna's letter was saying is we need clarity. Like whether it's the 6-2 map or the 7-1 map, we need clarity on this so we can make sure that the voters are voting the correct ballot and voting for the correct congressperson.
So I don't want to unduly scare people, but this could be kind of chaotic. Mm-hmm. So in your office, which I suspect other county clerks and boards of elections are doing, how are you preparing knowing that there's a range of possibilities that could happen in the courts that you don't have any influence over whatsoever? So what is it that you and your team is doing now to kind of go, brace yourselves?
So at 4:15 Friday afternoon, the Secretary of State finally updated the voter registration system so we can make changes to the map. So up until 4:15 Friday, we could not make changes. So the 6-2 map was what was in the system because we couldn't do anything else. So this week, we'll be going through and creating a 7-1 map, by making all of St. Charles County Congressional District 3. And then as soon as we're done with that, we need to start building the August election. However, and in this process of us building the August election, if the courts come back and say, nope, we're we're not doing the 7-1 map, we're doing the 6-2 map, then we're going to have to undo all that work and then redo the 6-2 map. And so,
can I ask a really stupid question on this? And this I am not an IT guy, so that's why this is probably a stupid question.
Right.
I'm gonna own it on the air, and that is, can you back up somewhere what you've got right now, and if that ruling you just mentioned comes, just go, okay, well, just copy paste up.
I wish no.
Yeah, okay.
No. And so there's a couple of reasons for that. One, just the type of system that we have is old and needs to be replaced. Now, the Secretary of State's office is looking at purchasing a new system before the 2030 census, so that when we have this issue again for redistricting, it's easier to handle. They just weren't ready for it this time around. So I'll give kudos to the Secretary of State's office for that. But as we add in new addresses and updates, the system is a constant real-time type of database. And any modification or change we do, because St. Charles County is constantly growing, we're constantly adding new roads, new houses, all of that is being added to the system. And so you can't just flip a switch and revert any new work into that old work. And so that's why, that's why it's so laborious. Now, we will get the 7-1 map modification done this week. And then as soon as we're done with that, we're going to switch over and create the August election, because next Tuesday is when the Secretary of State will give to us all of the statewide candidates as well as all the statewide ballot measures that will be on the August election. So for every election authority in Missouri, May 26th is the beginning of the creation of the August election. So we're not talking August 4th. We're talking next week. We need to know what's going on. Okay, so bottom line then, and this is Kurt Barr from the Director of Elections of St. Charles County. So the bottom line is the August primary election, especially with whatever ballot issues, but as far as the candidates go, filing's closed, that's set. That's going to happen no matter what. Now, it may all go crazy after that, but that is set. That's not going to change under Missouri law. Correct. Okay, yes. That's what we thought. All right, real quick here. Your office is hosting an event coming up here in about 3 weeks or so. Yep. Tell me about that. There's ice cream involved, which got my attention. So we're calling it Sundays on Sunday, June 14th, which is Flag Day, which is a Sunday. We're going to host a open house for every voter in St. Charles County. We're inviting all the candidates who will be on the August election, August ballot, to come and meet and greet with voters, and we're going to show the process and give a tour of the election authority. We are going to provide ice cream and some bomb pops to because well, there's a lot of people who are lactose intolerant, so we want to make sure we have those red, white, and blue bomb pops. We're also partnering with our St. Charles County Pet Adoption Center, and they're going to be bringing some dogs with them. And so I've been telling people, hey, if your kids are good, we'll give them ice cream. If they're not good, we'll send you home with a puppy. But they will be there as well, and there's a great chance for voters to meet candidates, to see the process, and then we also have a polling place that'll be set up with a real ballot for favorite ice cream flavor, favorite superhero, and kids can go ahead and vote that and go through the process of voting, so they can see that it's not a hard or scary process. And afterwards, they'll get one of our new I Vote stickers, and so we're going to make it this fun family event, and we're hoping that a lot of the public will come out to it. And that is through the director of or the elections office. This is through the election authority office. Yep. All right.
Okay, got some thoughts on that? 314-912-1019. By the way, that discussion with Kurt is already up at the Mike Ferguson in the Morning podcast page. You can find that at NewsTalkSTL.com or just any of the podcast platforms out there. All right, we got a lot of ground to cover here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
All the information I need on the drive to work.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
I keep it on throughout the day, whether it's local, national, or something big that's happening overseas.
News, analysis, and opinion.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
The Herzog Tomorrow Foundation provides private school tuition scholarships through Missouri's new Most Scholars program to cover the cost of accessible, high-quality schooling.
Hi, this is Myella Esser with the Herzog Tomorrow Foundation. Our private school tuition scholarships wouldn't be possible without the support of generous Missouri taxpayers. If you're a Missouri taxpayer interested in redirecting your tax dollars and sending them to Missouri students in need of a better education, please contact me at herzogmostscholars.org.
Better education for students creates a better tomorrow for all. Learn how you can help provide a better education for Missouri students at herzogmoscholars.org. That's herzogmoscholars.org. Also, sign up for The Lion, an initiative of the Herzog Foundation that carries articles covering a wide range of issues facing American families and culture. herzogfoundation.com. That's herzogfoundation.com.
NewsTalkSTL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on the St. Louis radio airwaves for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can now hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 2 times every weekend on NewsTalkSTL. But in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. You could also reach Doug at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
Lower your car payment today. Lower your car payment today. Yes, you heard us right. You can lower your car payment right now by making this free call and save up to $1,400 a year on your current car payments. Think about your current car payment right now. What's that costing you per year? Now think about what it would be like to put an extra $1,400 back in your pocket. That's the average savings our customers experience. We can help you drive the same car and pay less every month by lowering your car payment's interest rate to as low as 4.67%. At Rate Genius, we can work with you to refinance any car payment. If you qualify, it costs you nothing to find out how you can lower your car payment. To learn more, call this number right now.
800-493-5670. 800-493-5670. 800-493-5670. That's 800-493-5670.
What's the best way to get rid of a timeshare that you don't want? Call the Timeshare Exit Hotline. We're a group of attorneys that help customers legally exit their timeshares. It's an easy process. We guarantee results or you pay nothing. Exit your timeshare today. Call now.
800-524-1641. 800-524-1641. That's 800-524-1641.
Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
So, as always, a lot of political stuff going on. A lot of elections around the country today.
Yeah.
A lot of them. Generally primary elections, and that's all over the country. So Texas making some big decisions later this month. I don't think theirs is today. But, yeah, there are several. Georgia, Louisiana. Obviously, there's the Massey one in Kentucky. So, there's a lot going on. We'll touch on that here in a second.
So these are not going to determine whether or not the redistricting efforts have been successful. These are just determining who's going to be going against who coming up in the midterms.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah. So primary races here for this one. Now, speaking of redistricting, so it's funny you should mention that because there's been another lawsuit in Missouri over the redistrict maps, the new gerrymandered maps.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's the same group. It's the People Not Politicians group. Now, I'll be really honest. I mean, we'll get Susie's take on this a little bit because I want to go into more depth about this, around 6:04 or so, give you the updates on this. But the Supreme Court's ruled. They've ruled again. The maps are the legal maps at this point. And Missouri law, as we talked about yesterday, matter of fact, we just heard that conversation with Kurt Barr, a Republican who supports the new map, saying, guys, we're in a lot of limbo here. There's a lot of stuff that could go wrong here because we don't really know what's going on. And so the group that's trying to stop the new map, even though it's already been signed into law, they filed another lawsuit saying, listen, we've turned enough signatures to put this on the referendum, and they want the court to compel the Secretary of State to basically certify early prior to the deadline. They said, you can do it now, so make them do it now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the law gives him until August 4th to do that. So we'll get Susie's take on that here in just a little bit. But, they're just going back and back and back and back. So they've got a lot of funding behind them. This is that sort of outside special interest money that comes from God knows where. and Missouri lawmakers, Republicans, have been trying to pass legislation to ban that money from coming in from out of state. You do have First Amendment implications on that, possibly. So it's a big mess. And remember, the People Not Politicians is led by a guy who literally has connections to the Communist Party. That's not hyperbole.
Oh, lovely.
And he's not even there. The Communist Party, and they're this isn't a pejorative. They're like, yeah, we're communist, So that's how fringe left they've gone. But he's a popular figure in Democratic circles in Missouri because he's very effective. His name is Richard Von Glahn. He's a very effective activist and organizer, and he's a communist, because this is what he does. So the money's coming from somewhere. The gerrymandering war is what it is at this point. It's just kind of a devolution, spiral to destruction, which is all we've done. I mean, seriously, don't be surprised if over the next couple of years, states redistrict on a yearly basis. Somebody around the country is going to be redistricting based on, okay, where can we get the most votes? Just draw that up. So the whole thing about we the people and us being in charge, that is slipping away from us. It's we the political parties, we better align with the winner.
We the parties.
We the parties, as opposed to we the people. So that's where that is. But be that as it may, there are a lot of primary elections today. So tomorrow, what you're going to see in the national news is a lot of election results. And when you look at some of the biggest ones, I printed up the list of the ones that are happening today. In Alabama, there is a big contested race for the U.S. Senate because Senator Tommy Tuberville running for governor. All of their basically, this is their primary day, for U.S. House and governor, lieutenant governor, statewide, everything there. Also, Georgia, another big one. You've got the U.S. Senate race, that's a big one. Governor's race there, statewide races there. Idaho, whatever. And then Kentucky, obviously the race to replace Mitch McConnell, and then the Thomas Massie race as well. And then Oregon, Pennsylvania, both of those have primaries as well. In Pennsylvania, obviously everything in the House and governor and lieutenant governor as well. So there's a lot going on when it comes to votes. I would say the Louisiana and Georgia, not Louisiana, Alabama, Georgia, and Kentucky races, I would say, are the ones that are dominating the headlines more than anything else. So, a lot going on here. Big political day around the country, just not here in Missouri. We'll have our day in August.
Hanson's Tree Service at hansonstree.com is your one-stop shop for expert insured tree care and more in the greater St. Louis region and at the Lake of the Ozarks. Visit hansonstree.com for 24/7 emergency tree care, grinding and land clearing, awesome organic mulch, green resource recycling, and more. Tim Jones here to tell you that whether you're dealing with old man winter at your home or business in the St. Louis region or preparing your lake home for spring, call Hanson's to help you out. No job too big or too small. Mention NewsTalkSTL. Receive 10% off all tree care services. hansonstree.com, hansonstree.com.
Ronald Reagan once famously said, "Government is not the solution, government is the problem." When it comes to economic growth, government can be a roadblock. With red tape, regulations, and subsidies, government stifles entrepreneurship and also props up businesses that deserve to go under. Unlike government, free markets encourage risk-taking, freedom to succeed or fail. Governments shouldn't be picking winners and losers, the market should. Free markets benefit and named J.C. Hall, selling picture postcards in Kansas City, to turn his idea into Hallmark cards. In St. Louis, the free market made it possible for Adolphus Busch to turn his father-in-law's local beer into the world's largest brewery. A free market also means you get to send your kids to the school of your choice. Learn more about free markets at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Now you can fly anywhere in the world and pay discount prices on your airline tickets. Book a flight today to London, Paris, Madrid, or anywhere else you want to go and pay a lot less guaranteed. Call the International Travel Department right now at Low Cost Airlines.
800-515-2397. 800-515-2397. That's 800-515-2397.
I'm in my late 60s. My husband died a few years ago. He did all of our taxes. I sold a piece of property last year, and I forgot to claim the proceeds of the sale. Next thing I know, I got a letter from the IRS telling me that I owe over $50,000. Now I have a huge tax problem. I don't have that kind of money. I wish I knew who to call.
If you sold property in the last calendar year or didn't claim all of your part-time or even retirement income, you could be in big trouble with the IRS. Call first before they send you a letter. If you've already got a letter, call. We'll help you file years of past tax returns and save you time and money. So call the tax doctor. The call is confidential and free.
800-240-4586. 800-240-4586. 800-240-4586. That's 800-240-4586.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefontaine, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
I'm Rich Thomason. Looks like the Iranian regime is safe, at least for the moment.
President Donald Trump says he's holding off on a planned attack of Iran. Trump made this announcement on his Truth Social platform. He said he made the decision after talking to the leaders of Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Qatar.
Correspondent Jonathan Gambrell, the president, giving Tehran a bit more time to agree to a deal that he can accept. And that would include the Iranians agreeing to give up their pursuit of nuclear weapons. Deadly attack at a large Southern California mosque.
Police in San Diego say 2 teenage suspects opened fire at the Islamic Center of San Diego, killing 3 men before killing themselves.
We are considering this a hate crime until it's not.
Police Chief Scott Wall.
So we have our 2 suspects that are deceased. We have 3 victims at the Islamic Center. All 3 are adults, for a total of 5 people that are deceased.
Aerial footage showed more than a dozen children holding hands and being walked out of the parking lot during the police response.
All of the kids are safe.
Wall says a security guard was among the victims and that the 2 suspects were found dead in a vehicle stopped in the middle of a road nearby. Audio courtesy KGTV. I'm Jennifer King.
Service on New York's Long Island Railroad is slated to resume later today. A tentative contract ends a 3-day strike that closed the LIRR. Voters in several states are going to the polls today in primaries. In Kentucky, incumbent Republican Congressman Trump foe Thomas Massie being challenged by Trump-endorsed candidate Ed Galrine. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche goes up to Capitol Hill today for his first congressional testimony since taking over at the Department of Justice. On Wall Street this morning, the Dow futures are down 81 points. The NASDAQ futures 200 points lower, and the S&P futures are down 30 points. More on these stories, townhall.com.
Hey, I'm Kirk Cameron. Is health insurance eating up your budget for 2026? If you're looking for ways to better steward your finances, consider this: Christian Healthcare Ministries. It's a health insurance alternative at half the cost. Join CHM today by visiting chministries.org/wellness. While insurance companies tell you when to join, what to pay, and where to go, CHM is different. As a ministry, CHM allows you to share the burden of medical bills with other Christians. You can enroll, switch programs, or leave at any time. Christian Healthcare Ministries. It's a world of difference. CHM has 4 flexible programs. You can pick any certified doctor, surgeon, or hospital that you want for eligible care. So make the switch. Take your paycheck back from health insurance this year. Join CHM today by visiting chministries.org/wellness. That's chministries.org/wellness.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Chance Gotch with your first alert forecast. We're going to be tracking afternoon highs towards the upper 70s, some scattered showers and storms. Still a first alert weather day, as we could see some isolated chances of some of those becoming a little bit stronger later on, but still in a flood watch till a little bit later today. Then into Wednesday, things calm back down. Mostly cloudy skies, highs towards the upper 60s, approaching 70. By Thursday, 72 degrees, mostly cloudy. Friday, more chances of showers and storms. Temperatures continue to rise, though, through Memorial Day weekend. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Gotch.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hey, Jamie Allman here, looking for the ultimate escape? Well, welcome to Santino's, where luxury meets authenticity in a stunning 6,000 square foot destination. Browse hundreds of premium cigars in the walk-in humidor. Explore more than 700 bottles of whiskey. Whether it's their non-smoking wine room, gaming lounge with custom poker tables, it's Santino's just off Highway 55 at the Imperial exit. See them at Santino'sCigarCocktails.com. That's Santino'sCigarCocktails.com.
The Laborers International Union of North America, Local 110, was formed in 1933 and from the beginning has strived for progress and the well-being of others. The laborers of Local 110 are hardworking men and women who take pride in their great work. They are the fastest-growing union of construction workers and one of the most effective unions representing plants and quarries. Laborers Local 110 has the best medical benefits, pension, education, and heavy construction training in the market. Visit lu110.com and start your future today.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new NewsTalk STL app.
On my way to work in the morning.
Usually I'm in the car.
I listen on the app in my car every morning going to work.
Download the News Talk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere. Mike Ferguson.
I'm not like the rest of you. I don't make mistakes.
Susie Moore.
What you're telling me doesn't sound logical, my dear.
Get up! Get up! Can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
You need to get to go. I need to be able to get where you need to go to do the work.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Get up! Get up! This is your cousin.
All right, the left-wing activist group that's been trying to challenge Missouri's new congressional map, they're back in court again.
Of course they are.
Again. I've lost track of which round this is.
85.
They are they're plucky. You give
Plucky.
them that,
That's an underused word.
They're plucky. They really are. Okay, so here's what's going on is the People Not Politicians group, and this is the one that is led by the guy who literally has ties to the Communist Party. And I don't that they're not even like ashamed of that. So this isn't like,
oh no,
I'm not like insulting
wear it loud,
them or
wear it proud,
casting aspersions. That's just, that's who they are. And so they filed a lawsuit. This is what interesting because it follows up our discussion with Kurt Barr yesterday, and then it follows up the rulings from the state Supreme Court. And they're saying that, the local officials who are validating the different signatures, because when you do the petition, there isn't a group of people in Jeff City doing this. If you sign it in Franklin County or Warren County or St. Louis County, then the locals are, here's your stack, you need to validate them, and then you report back and all that kind of stuff. And they say that over 130% of the required signatures have already been validated. And therefore, they say the Secretary of State is able to certify this petition for the referendum to put it on the ballot. He's able to do it right now because there are enough that are certified. And they're going to court and they're suing to try to compel him to either do it early or announce that they don't have enough signatures so that they can file the next round of lawsuits and put the map on hold. That's what they're doing. That's the latest tactic.
So that's exactly what KT Soprano was asking about yesterday, is if he can be forced, if the Secretary of State can be forced to. And I'm not aware of a mechanism that can do that. Now, maybe there is some. I guess we'll find out.
I've been covering elections in Missouri for a very, very long time. I have been involved in, whether it's third party or referendum. I mean, I have never heard of a law I have not heard of anything that says, okay, your deadline is here, but then the court goes, okay, but if you can do it now, just do it now. Right. I've never heard. I mean, I'm saying it couldn't happen, but I've never heard of it happening.
Two things. Number one, which court did they file it in? Was it Cole County or was it someplace else?
I've got it right in front of me here. Let's see here. I suspect it's Cole County, but it actually doesn't say.
Okay.
Yeah,
we'll find out. Anyway, does it? Okay. So when you get to the heart of it, what this is about preventing the 7-1 map for being in effect
for this election.
Right. So they're fighting tooth and nail to keep Missouri 6-2 versus 7-1 in terms of Republican-Democrat favor. So they're like fighting tooth and nail over one congressional seat.
Yep.
Okay. I just wanted the people to understand what the stakes are. And I'm not saying that's not a worthy fight. I'm just saying let's be realistic here about what this is. This is purely about fighting for Emanuel Cleaver's seat, which Emanuel Cleaver is like 84 years old, isn't he?
I don't know if he's that old,
Oh,
but he's
he's
getting up there. I mean, I first met him and interviewed him. Well, you might be right because that was 25 years ago.
Yeah,
I think that I first talked to him. Yeah,
81.
81. Okay,
oh, sorry, I aged you a
no,
little bit.
no, you were close.
And I'm not saying that he doesn't. I mean, I haven't heard from Emanuel. I don't know what he thinks about any of this because he never says anything.
No, he up until now that's been a very safe Democratic seat, and whoever's in that seat basically I don't know that there's been anybody who's been a power player even in Democratic politics. Emanuel Cleaver has been in long enough that he should have ascended to some level of leadership, chairmanship, stuff like that, ranking member, nothing at all. And so, he's basically a loyal vote for whatever the Democratic leadership wants. And there are people on both sides of the party, both sides of the aisle that they're there to be a foot soldier.
Right.
That's their job.
Right.
And that's Emanuel Cleaver. But in this case, I think it's interesting you point out, we're talking, I'm sure at this point we've gotten into millions of dollars all
easily
in for
Who's
one
funding
seat.
these people?
Good question. That's a great question.
I'm gonna have to do some digging.
And my guess is that you could dig all you want. You will not find all the sources. That's my guess. And I am almost guarantee you, just on my experience, that a lot of that is not coming from Missouri.
Oh, I think that's a safe bet.
Yeah, very safe bet. And here's the thing is, think what you want about the gerrymandering wars. I think both parties are at fault. I mean, they're both. I would not be surprised. I was telling Jerome a little bit ago that every other year, there's probably going to be some other state that now says, okay, well, this is how the game goes.
Right.
And they're going to start redoing it every single year.
Yeah, rules have changed.
Yeah. And so what you've got here in this case, because that one seat is so, and it's not that they're so devoted to Emanuel Cleaver. It has nothing to do with him. It's about the blue and red.
Right.
That's all that it is. And so Denny Hoskins is basically all but said, I'm going to wait until the last minute. And he said on this show, as I pointed out a number of times, they probably have enough votes or enough signatures on to do it. They probably have enough to do this. And matter of fact, I think he told me, he said, I'm pretty sure they do. But the law doesn't require him to do this until August 4th. And so now we don't know what's going to happen on August 5th. And he's not required to announce that certification, frankly, till the end of the day. And I wouldn't be surprised if he does it with 1 minute left for whatever that deadline is.
Yeah.
And that is all a part of the partisan back and forth that's out there. So they're saying it can be done now. Therefore, the court should compel him to do that now. I from a legal perspective, you tell me. I don't know that that's. I mean, look at anything else where there's a deadline, or a due date. Is there something that says, okay, well, even though you've got until here, we're going to make you do it early?
So, I mean, the first thing a court that's doing its job right, is going to be to look at the statutory language and see if there's any interpretation of it, anything about it that says, the Secretary of State can be compelled to move sooner if they're capable of doing so. I guarantee you that language is not in the statute. I would be willing to bet good money on that. Yeah. So then the next question becomes whether there is some equitable principle in the law that somehow overrides legislative, language.
What does equitable principle mean?
Something that says, in the interest of fairness, I'm oversimplifying, but in the interest of fairness, we're going to find this compulsion, this basis for compelling you to do something that the statute doesn't require you to do. I would be willing to bet decent money that a court, even a friendly court, even one that's sympathetic to the cause of the people, not whatever, is not going to feel comfortable doing that, because you're starting to get into that encroaching on like the separation of powers, and it's a political question kind of thing. And courts generally don't want to do that.
And in Missouri in particular, there is a history of them not wanting to get into electoral stuff.
So here's another thing to keep in mind. The Missouri Supreme Court had before it 2 cases, either one of which could have presented it if it wanted to in some way intercede here,
Mm-hmm.
could have allowed it to do so. The second one being about when the petition was filed versus waiting for the verification of signatures. The court could have, in discussing that, said, oh, and by the way, here's what will happen if blah, 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 blah. They could have, set the guardrails, and they opted not to do that. That tells you they're exercising their judicial restraint, which is what they're supposed to be doing.
Right.
But if that's what the Missouri Supreme Court, and mind you, it's the Missouri Supreme Court that's going to be the ultimate arbiter of this. This is not going to go to the U.S. Supreme Court. If the Missouri Supreme Court already signaled, look, we're not going to get ahead of ourselves, and we're not going to decide an issue that's not properly squarely before us, then that tells you pretty much how they're going to handle when and if this gets back up to them, and it's going to be no.
Right.
So, I mean, I could be proven wrong, of course. My hunches could be wrong here, but I don't think this is going to be a successful endeavor.
Yeah, that would be my guess. My guess is this probably doesn't last very long in the courts, and they're just simply going to say, listen, the state constitution, the state law says this is the deadline. He's gotten to the deadline. He hasn't violated the law.
Right. So if the trial court rules that way, then the group could theoretically appeal, which given how hard they're fighting, maybe
Apparently
they will.
they've got unlimited funds.
Apparently.
To do this, yeah.
So then they'll appeal it to, a court of appeals, and then it'll go to the Supreme Court. So again, I mean, we're going to go through 3 layers of courts. Maybe there's something out there that I'm missing.
If you're missing it, I'm missing it.
Maybe
Because
Chuck Hatfield could tell me.
What's that?
So maybe Chuck Hatfield could let me know.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't see that this is going to be successful for them. And it's kind of interesting that they're deciding that this is what they need to focus all of their energy on instead of, no one's trying to run a decent Democrat candidate in any of the districts over on the western side of the state.
They don't have a bench in Missouri.
Well, maybe they should start thinking about that.
Yeah.
Just saying.
They just don't have one. So here's then the other question is, I am pretty sure that they have the valid signatures, by just numerically based on what there is.
They may very well.
Are we looking at an absolute mess between August and November, just electorally, with the courts and the political? Are we looking at possibly an absolute crap show?
Be ready for hanging chads.
Oh, yeah.
And pregnant chads. Don't forget about them.
Yeah. Oh, he's not old enough. He's not old enough.
He's so young. Oh my God.
He was 4 at the time.
Oh my
That's
God.
why the pregnant
he doesn't
chads.
know about pregnant chads.
Well, all right, we'll give you a history lesson of the 2020 elections for pregnant chads.
2000 election.
What'd I say?
2020.
Oh, yeah, no, 2000. Yeah, 2000 election. Yeah, that was Bush Gore. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll tell you all about
right.
it. But we also want to tell you about a big event coming up soon that we want you to be a part of. It's the live debate for the St. Charles County Executive Primary. It's going to be Tuesday, June 2nd. NewsTalkSTL is hosting a live debate at Lindenwood University in St. Charles, Missouri at the J. Scheidegger Center for the Arts. And the debate will also be broadcast live here on NewsTalkSTL from 7 to 8:30 p.m. There's no need to reserve a spot. Just show up, and we will be there. Mike and I are going to be part of the moderators that are going to be asking the candidates questions, so you definitely want to make sure you come check it out.
This is your cousin car. Get up, what are you waiting for? Get up, get up.
Mike Ferguson in the morning
Let me just say this with all due respect. You really don't know what you're talking about right now.
on News Talk STL.
Give me more information.
All right, you want to try something challenging, something very, very different. You can do that with my friends at Great American Divers. Mike Ferguson here for Great American Divers, greatamericandivers.com. I'm telling you, check this out. Come dive with them. They're in St. Charles. This is a veteran-owned company, and they've got everything from teaching you how to scuba dive to repair and service your scuba diving equipment. They can, if you just need the air tank filled up, they got you covered. If you want to rent the equipment, try it out. They can do that. But check this out. Join them on staff-led dive trips, and you can explore the world. So you say, this sounds like a lot of fun. Not like we have a lot of oceans here in Missouri. Listen, they'll take you to the ocean. So greatamericandivers.com. They're professional staff. They organize. They will lead trips around the world, allowing you to dive with the experts there. Let them deal with all the hassles while you just make the bubbles and you get under the water. We're talking all kinds of great locations. Great American Divers, they do have a 10% discount for active duty veterans and first responders. Great American Divers in St. Charles, greatamericandivers.com. Tell them that you heard about them from Mike talking about them on the radio.
This year, America turns 250, and News Talk STL is celebrating our nation's semi-quincentennial all year long. News Talk STL, #1 for live and local Soros-free talk, with proud supporters of our 250th birthday celebration. Duchenne High School, Moolah Yomo, and Mobile Magic Auto Body. 250 years strong, and we're just getting started. 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros and Exteriors, your all-in-one service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. Christine and I discovered Gutter Pros and Exteriors when we bought our home and inherited a gutter problem. And they've also repaired siding damage on our home because along with gutter repair, gutter installation, and leaf protection, the Gutter Pros team are also the best for repairing other exterior damage, including fascia, soffit, and all siding repair and installation. Learn about all the ways Gutter Pros and Exteriors can help your home or business right now at gutterpros.com.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hey, this is Todd Showalter. Join me for the Right Mind Show on Saturday at 5 as I try to put some fun back into this wacky radio station. You know, and speaking of wacky, let's get back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Okay, so we threw Jerome off.
We did.
Off his game a little bit. The last one, you referred to the pregnant Chads.
Right.
And Jerome legit was like, what are you talking about?
Understandably, immediately his mind went to Chad, like the meme Chad.
Right, yes.
The Chad. Right, which I
Right.
get. Totally get.
Because you were born what year?
95.
Okay, so he was 5 when this happened. So the 2000 elections, this was George W. Bush and Al Gore. And it came down to the wire in Florida. I mean, down to the wire, and there was all this coverage. They were counting ballots and recounting ballots, and we had these things back then, back in the old days, that were called paper ballots. And so what people were doing is you were supposed to, you know, and I voted with these. I mean, around here, you just, at least the ballots vote in, you circle, you fill in the circle.
Right, but they used to have the little punch card things.
Right. It was a punch card thing where you would put your ballot over the thing, and then you would just punch through, and
like
then
the
little hole through there. And what was happening is there was a big deal. They called those Chads. I don't know.
The hanging piece of paper or cardboard would be like a Chad.
Yeah, the thing that the little box you knocked out, that was a Chad. And so this was so close in this election, which was going to decide whether Al Gore or George W. Bush became president, that they were scrutinizing every single one and how much was it punched, and did they mean to punch it even if it didn't punch through? And
so, yeah, and keep in mind, this is like days after the election. So the election is held on Tuesday, November, whatever.
Right.
And all of the counts are in, and whoever wins Florida is going to win the presidential election.
Wow, that's how close it was.
And because there were questions about, when were ballots handed in, how valid were they had to go back and count them all, and it was down, very, very close. So like you said, they had to scrutinize each ballot. And one of the things they had to determine was if it was sufficiently punched through.
Right.
So there were dimpled Chads, which just meant that there was like an indentation, but it hadn't been punched out at all. There were hanging Chads where there was like just a little bit of it still attached to the ballot. And then there were pregnant Chads that were kind of like dimpled Chads, but there were all these
farther along.
Yeah, further along. This went on for weeks. Like we didn't know who was going to be the president until
it was
December or January.
It was December.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, this took a while, and then the news media was all over everything, and there was, with every single one, there had to be a Republican and a Democrat, and then they were arguing over, well, no, they clearly meant to vote there for that one. It's like, well, no, it was just an indentation. Well, look, they tried, Now, if the Chad was like 3 of the 4 corners were knocked out, I think for the most part, it's like, okay, well, they
hanging Chad's one.
That one, yeah. And then there was like, well, did they really mean that one? And there were they were shipping lawyers from all over the country down to Florida. It was crazy.
Ultimately, the Supreme Court of the United States was the one that decided that election because they had to, it was like there were challenges that went all the way up. Jeb Bush was the governor of Florida at the time, and it was his brother that was running. So it was a big deal. And I know you were 5, so you probably had like just a passing familiarity with the fact that there was might be maybe some hubbub, but that's where the pregnant chads come from.
Well, I know I went to the polling booth with my mom
Sure.
for that, but I don't remember like hearing about pregnant chads ever.
Yeah, no.
That was literally all anybody could talk about.
Oh, it was nuts.
For 6 weeks, 8 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And then eventually it was determined that George W. Bush was going to be the winner. I was not happy about it at the time because I was still a raging Democrat. And so I called him President Shrub.
Well, and to be fair, Dick Cheney was a terrible president, so.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was very exciting times. Can you believe it was like a lifetime ago?
That hit me when you were like, what are you talking about? And immediately, Dom, like, you don't remember. You weren't old enough.
Well, because Chad, for pretty much my entire young adult and teen life, has been a very sort of like arrogant, confident man. And then the meme came out with that guy posing, and that's the public
with the big prominent chin and like the chiseled,
I was expecting, because the whole debate around pregnant men was a thing for a few years, and so I'm thinking, like, are you talking about bringing chads and making them like what's going on with that?
Pregnant Chad in 2000 versus pregnant Chad in 2026, totally different creatures.
Yeah, that would make this whole redistricting thing even crazier, I would say.
Wow. My goodness.
So sorry, I just had to go down memory lane.
That is
I appreciate the education.
It was the look on your face where I'm like, oh, that's real. He's not playing anything up for the radio here. Oh, right.
No, I am legitimately that naive.
No, that's not naive. You just weren't old enough. I mean,
that ignorant. Yes.
It was because it was, like Susie said, it was such a massive 24/7 thing. It's all any of us were talking about, because we were a few weeks after Election Day. We didn't know the president was going to be.
Social media was not a thing, but cable news sure as heck was.
Oh, yeah.
And that's literally all anybody was talking about for weeks.
Newspapers and, at that time, we had, what were the online, like, chat groups or whatever they were called, that sort of
like
thing.
there were political message boards.
Message boards, that's it, message boards, yeah. And so those weren't huge, but they were still there. I mean, online still wasn't that big of a deal, even 26 years ago.
No.
But that was a wild time.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to talk about this in more depth a little bit later. Let me do a pivot here to something. You see this attack on a mosque in San
I'm aware.
Diego.
We've been covering it extensively.
Yeah, so now we've got a couple of, we've got the names of the two, we're going to say suspects, but the two teenagers who enacted the attack. And so police say they are investigating this as a hate crime, as in they went and targeted this mosque because it was a mosque and because it was an Islamic center. Apparently, this is a very large Islamic center in San Diego. It housed an entire school in addition to their community stuff and whatever. But apparently, this was a large. I mean, we've got, like, for instance, the one off of I-70 on North County, I guess, right there. That's a pretty big building, but apparently that's nothing compared to what the size of this one is in San Diego.
Yeah. No. This is a very large complex. Yeah. This is also one, and I have to dig a little bit more, but it actually has a tie to 9/11.
Does it really?
Yeah, I think some of the perpetrators of 9/11 may have been attendees of this mosque, but that doesn't in any way negate or what happened yesterday.
Right, because the two that police believe did it, and I say that because, it hasn't been proven, but it looks like what happened is two teenagers. I've seen reports that say 17 and 18. I've seen some others that say 17 and 19, but teenagers. And they went in guns ablazing. A security guard slowed them down. That security guard was killed. 2 other adults were killed. And then these two went and got into a car, apparently a BMW, and they were found with self-inflicted gunshot wounds. So they took the coward's way out. Now, listen, we know what I think of Islam. You don't have to agree with it or like the religion to say that, listen, targeting somebody because of their religious beliefs and faiths in this country is evil.
Absolutely.
That part shouldn't be. I don't have to like or approve of or agree with your religion or your faith, but attacking somebody because of it is as evil as whatever I think you whatever the religion is. The same. It's like when the synagogue was attacked in Michigan. And so this right here is one where we can't be hypocritical and sit and go, well, wait, let's find out. Maybe that no. Two teenagers went in, and police say every bit of evidence indicates they were targeted because they're Islamic.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like they kind of went out of their way to like leave that kind of messaging.
Mhm.
There was like writing on the weapons that was
Right.
like hate crime or
hate
hate speech
speech
or
or something like
something,
that,
and
yeah.
then there was like allegedly, according to the authorities, there was like anti-Islamic sentiments left on notes and stuff in the car. One of them, my understanding is the mother of one of the boys, the young men, I should
Police
say.
were looking for them.
They were looking for
already.
them because she was concerned about his mental health and said he had some of her guns were missing and her car was missing. Well, it was her car that they were in. You know, what motivated this or, you know, prompted them to decide this was the appropriate thing to do, still remains to be seen. But it's a horrific situation and, you know, just kind of tragic all around.
Yeah, there's never an excuse to kill civilians. That should be obvious to everybody. But at the same time, so somebody was asking, do we actually know the names?
Yes.
Okay, because I've seen social media reports coming out, and we know how social media likes to spread falsehoods.
Yes. Let me.
Kane, somebody.
One is. Let me see here. I've got it because the first two articles I found hadn't had it, and then I saw one.
I got it.
17-year-old Kane Clark. And then 18 or 19-year-old, I can't tell, Caleb Velasquez are the two names that I've got. Is that what you've got?
That's what I've got.
Okay.
And the only thing that the other thing we've seen is that Kane Clark apparently was a wrestler, a high school wrestler. That there's pictures of him like in his wrestling stuff. We don't know much about Caleb Velasquez. I think today we'll probably continue to find out more about them.
Right.
But yeah, it's like what
and here's the thing is, I use the word hate crime because that's what the police are using. It's a murder is a murder is a murder.
Yes.
I'm not a fan of hate crime laws in all because I don't want to. I don't think we should be punishing thought. I think you punish actions.
Yes.
On this, but motivation is part of what you're, is what you're prosecuting and dealing with. But targeting somebody for your religion, we've seen it far more in this country targeting Jewish people. And in this particular case, you've got somebody apparently targeting somebody because they don't like their religion. Listen, I disagree with Islam through and through as well, but I'm going to be the first to say this is evil to go after somebody because of their religious faith.
Well, and I want to make this point too.
Yeah.
Like I was kind of alluded to, two of the 9/11 hijackers, Khalid Al-Midhar and Nauf Al-Hazmi, regularly worshipped at the ICSD before they helped crash American Airlines Flight 77 into the Pentagon. Horrible, horrible people who did a horrible, horrible thing. Literally not in any way justifies what was done yesterday. You cannot you can't do this. You cannot do this. And so, I mean, I hope that they are able to kind of pin down exactly what was going on in these young men's lives that made them think that this was appropriate. What is it? What does it accomplish?
No, it didn't accomplish anything.
No.
And I mean, if there's a backlash, if there's a vengeance there, if it accomplished anything, it's going to get somebody else killed.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just horrific, and this should not be happening.
But we'll get into that. We'll also dig into this a little bit more. Chris Arps is going to join us around 7:35 because we may know more by 7:35 than we even know right now.
That's true.
Which is a reason why you should have the free NewsTalkSTL app on your phone, because sometimes you've got things going on in life, but you want to stay informed. We'll just pull up your phone, put your earbud in, or play it over a Bluetooth speaker if you prefer. And you can keep listening to us live wherever you are. That is the free NewsTalkSTL app.
Mike Ferguson.
It's a Will Mannett,
Susie Moore.
and woman at
On Newstalk STL. Columbo and Company.
Trump said he paused a planned attack on Iran due to serious negotiations underway. Will they lead to an agreement? We'll talk about it Tuesday, plus Susie Moore and AI expert Mike McCleary.
Live and local weekdays at 2 on Newstalk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Chance Gotch with your first alert forecast. We're going to be tracking afternoon highs towards the upper 70s, some scattered showers and storms. Still a first alert weather day, as we could see some isolated chances of some of those becoming a little bit stronger later on, but still in a flood watch till a little bit later today. Then into Wednesday, things calm back down. Mostly cloudy skies, highs towards the upper 60s, approaching 70. By Thursday, 72 degrees, mostly cloudy. Friday, more chances of showers and storms. Temperatures continue to rise, though, through Memorial Day weekend. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Gotch.
Remember those magical moments in Mom's kitchen? The heavenly aroma of fresh baked cookies? At Trolley Stop Bakery in Chesterfield's Forum Shopping Center, our co-op of talented bakers has been perfecting that homemade magic for 4 decades. From the gooeyest cookies in town to custom pies, cobblers, and cakes, everything's made from scratch, just like Mom and Grandma's recipes. Need that perfect corporate gift? We ship our famous cookies nationwide. The Trolley Stop Bakery, 67 Forum Shopping Center, or TrolleyStopBakery.com. Because some traditions are too sweet not to share.
No paint, don't vinyl, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Never paint again with Rhino Shield. Listen to what a couple of happy customers have to say.
My family's business is over 10,000 square feet, and it did not have the curb appeal I wanted. Our building was really faded. You came out, you gave me all of these options that would fit my building. I don't want to have to paint my building again. 25 years is a long time to not have to worry about the outside maintenance of your building as far as paint. That's a no-brainer. That's why Rhino Shield worked for me.
What a wonderful job they did. It's beautiful. They were very thoughtful, kind, considerate guys. Appreciate all the work that these 2 young men did.
Call Rhino Shield, 877-25-RHINO, 877-25-RHINO, or 877-25rhino.com. See what we did there? Genius. Tell them, ladies.
No paint, don't vinyl, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Conservative talk for St. Louis.
It's your patriotic right and duty.
The government needs to step up and do its job.
This is News Talk STL.
It's well-balanced conversation.
News, analysis, opinion.
I love that you're starting your day off right with Mike Ferguson in the morning. It's your boy Joe Pags. Talk to you tonight. But now let's get back to Mike.
About a 4 or 5 on the Susie dance scale there.
I wasn't expecting her to boogie like that, but it's always fun watching her dance.
Gotta keep moving.
There it is. Okay, heads up. Looks like we could have some floods around the area with all this rain moving through.
Yeah.
Did you guys get hail where you were yesterday? There was a little bit of hail where I was.
If
Not big, but there was a little bit.
If we did, it was minimal.
Yeah.
We got some over here.
Yeah, and I wasn't too far from here when it started falling, but it was a lot, but it was all really, really tiny.
Like
so
dime sized, yeah.
If that, yeah. So nothing that's going to damage anything, but you hear that very clear,
Plink, plink, plink.
plink, yeah, everywhere. So we've got with so much rain that's moving through the air. So basically, we're in the Midwest monsoon season here for the next day or two, and so it's possible that if there are areas where you have suspicions, like seems to be there's high water at this place, wherever that is. Beware of that could be a thing today. Because you remember a few years ago, my goodness, down there at was it Hanley and Manchester, there were cars getting swept away, and then U City had all those problems, and then you look at like the Enright area, North City, and there were some massive flooding areas all over. I don't think it's going to be like that, but there could be standing water throughout the day.
I've seen some standing water here and there when storms like this hit, and I just want to remind everybody, you can hydroplane even if you have good tires, and you don't want to be rushing through and accidentally flood your own vehicle.
You can literally hydroplane on about 3/4 of an inch of water.
So I have a confession.
Oh.
Way back in the day, in the early days of News Talk STL, I was racing down to the station to be on with Tony, I think, and Highway 40 was flooded there at Oakland and like Hampton.
Yeah.
That low. I mean, there were places where it was standing water.
Yeah.
And I was one of the dummies that went through because my panic impulse overrode my common sense impulse, and I made it through. But I was like, that was literally the dumbest thing I've ever done. I mean, there was like a foot of standing water on the road.
Is that the one where you're...
I know. I feel bad about it to this day.
Like where it dips down and you're under the bridge?
Yes.
Yeah, I know exactly
There
where
were
you're talking
several
about.
locations like that on 40 on Highway 40. You don't think of it. I mean, it was bad.
No, I know exactly what part of 40 you're talking about.
Yeah, and I got to the station and I was like, that was really, really dumb. Thankfully, it did not flood my car, did not cause an accident. But in hindsight, I'm like, okay, just like, you know what? It wouldn't have been the end of the world if I hadn't been able to be on Tony's show.
Right.
It just was that mentality kind of took over. So people do kind of sometimes panic in that situation. Have in your head ahead of time, if you see standing water, don't go into it.
Yeah, or more likely it's like, oh, that's just a little puddle. It's fine.
Oh, that was not my thought.
It may not be.
Yeah, and I wasn't even thinking in those terms. I was like, holy crap, am I really going to do this? But I shouldn't have done it.
So when I first moved here, I started doing AV work for different hotels, and so that required traveling between. You'd never realize just how much a puddle can be hiding a pothole, and I actually blew a tire out because I was just, oh, it's fine, it'll just be a little splash. Nope, it was a and then you just know your car starts to sink a little bit, and you're like, okay, that's going to be very expensive.
Yep, that was a very expensive assumption.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, we'll get into this a little more detail. I think around 7:05 here as well. But I'm going to tap into your lawyer brain here. Luigi Mangione. That was one of those evidentiary hearing what gets to be admitted and used in the trial, what does not, and there were some big decisions on this.
Yeah, this was the state court proceeding.
Right.
So New York State Court judge was making these determinations before the state trial, which is, I think, set to go in September, if I'm not mistaken, because then the federal trial is like January of next year. And basically the judge ruled some evidence is being excluded, will not be able to be brought in at trial, and some evidence can. And the distinction that judge drew is not going to make a whole lot of sense. Well, it might not even make a whole lot of sense to lawyers, but it definitely isn't going to make a whole lot of sense to people who aren't familiar with, intimately familiar with the criminal procedural process. Because there were items that were in his backpack that were found when they first apprehended him at the McDonald's in Pennsylvania that are getting excluded, but other items that are in his backpack are coming in.
Why would something be excluded? That's a general question. I mean, I understand there are times where, okay, it was an illegal search, and so therefore you can't do that. But in this case, what do we know about why stuff is off limits, basically?
Okay. This is why people hate lawyers. And our guest is going to be able to better address this too, probably. This happened. He was apprehended in Pennsylvania.
Right.
But he's being tried in New York because the crime was committed in New York. And New York criminal procedural law has an exclusionary rule. There's I can't think of it. It's like the within reach rule or something like that. So basically, they're saying once they moved the backpack away from him so that he couldn't reach out and grab it while they were apprehending him at the McDonald's, then it was no longer exigent circumstances. Like he couldn't do anything with that backpack, so they had no reason to search it. So anything that they found at that point shouldn't come in. Now, when they later had him at the station and in custody, they were able to search it because they were able to take an inventory. And so one argument is, well, they were going to be able to look at it anyway, but that's not what this judge ruled.
Do we know what was excluded, which evidence is not going to be allowed to be used?
Yes, like there's a cell phone and...
Oh, that could be a big...
Yes. Yeah. The guns coming in, and there was like a red notebook that had some of his thoughts in it. That is coming in, but there's a cell phone and something else that has been excluded. And there's a further complicating factor because, of course, he was apprehended in Pennsylvania by Pennsylvania authorities. They're applying New York state law as far as what the rules are about evidence. And so that raises all other questions.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to talk to John Deaton about this at 7:05 as well. Okay. Last few minutes we've got here. Speaking of courts, Supreme Court. Now, not like big, massive like case rulings, but some interesting stuff that was handed down.
Yeah, and I'm going to try and not get too far into the weeds in this because it is kind of weedsy. So pretty much every Monday that the court's in session, like between October and June, they issue what they call an order list. And it's basically them saying, yeah, we're going to grant cert and review this case, or we're not going to grant cert, certiorari. It's just like they're kind of housekeeping. And in that order list, there will sometimes be things that are a little bit more substantive, but they're not like a full-on core opinion. Like we're later this week, I think on Thursday, they're going to hand down more opinions like on their merits cases. This is not that. They had pending before them 2 cases, and there are more like these, I suspect, that involved the Voting Rights Act. One of them from Mississippi, one of them from North Dakota. And in both cases, the Supreme Court said, hey, you know what? We're going to vacate your decisions that we're being asked to review and ask you to take a second look at those cases now that we have ruled in the Louisiana versus Calais case, which basically clarified what Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act does and doesn't require.
So basically, now you have a framework to work off.
You have a clearer framework, go to it. The interesting twist here is that Ketanji Brown Jackson dissented from the decision to vacate these decisions and send it back for review.
So they didn't overrule it. They just said do-over.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, they didn't rule one way or the other about what's right and what's wrong. They're just saying, hey, can you take another look now that we have this ruling, okay? And what's really interesting about that is the North Dakota case, it went all the way up to the Eighth Circuit, which is the Intermediary Court of Appeals, and they had ruled, hey, look, that section of the Voting Rights Act doesn't even grant private citizens a cause of action. It's about the Department of Justice being able to enforce the rule. So private individuals and private entities really shouldn't even be able to bring this suit, which would completely upend like 60 years of Voting Rights Act jurisprudence. I mean, that's a pretty big deal. That's what the Eighth Circuit had ruled. And Ketanji Brown Jackson's dissent as to both cases was, hey, Calais didn't even address who has the right to bring the cause of action or not. It just was about substantively, what does this section mean? So why are you sending it back when that isn't even addressed here? Well, that might almost be a sensible argument, except for she said that as to both cases, and the other case isn't about that. So she used boilerplate language for 2 sentences to dissent. Elena Kagan and Sonia Sotomayor did not dissent.
Was this an 8-1 thing?
It was an 8-1 thing.
No.
And keep in mind, they dissented from the Calais decision.
Right.
So it's almost like she's over concerned, like she's super sensitive to there being something that's going to happen if the courts look at this again under Calais that she doesn't want to have happen. And so she's overreacting. And I just think the tell here is, A, she used the same language as to both cases, even though they have somewhat different issues. And B, her liberal compadres on the court who dissented from Calais don't have any problem with lower courts reviewing their cases again under the Calais decision.
They've accepted that this is the ruling, this is the way it is.
Correct.
And now that's the new framework. Does Ketanji Brown Jackson strike you as the equivalent of that kid in college who didn't know a lot but knew a few big words and wanted to impress people with the language that they use to sound smarter and more knowledgeable than they actually are?
Maybe.
I mean, we all know that person, right?
Maybe, yeah. No, I mean, I think
especially in this day of everything on the internet.
I think that could very well be the case. And I think also, and I've said this before, I think what's even a bigger factor with her is she didn't have any experience as an appellate court judge before she came to the Supreme Court. She was a trial court judge. So I feel like a lot of her rulings come from wanting to be in the mix and deciding the actual nuts and bolts of stuff instead of analyzing it from sort of that higher perspective. So, and then she's just not on the same page with her colleagues. Over and over again, if it's an 8-1, it's more often than not, it's her.
You know who it's going to be.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't looked at the statistics on this yet, but I think they're going to start bearing out because she's been on the court now for 4 years. She seems to be the one. First of all, she hogs all the oral argument time. She's the one that talks the most.
And says the least.
And then she's the one that's dissenting on something like this, which is pretty perfunctory. They're basically saying, hey, look, there's a new law in town. There's a new framework, an analytical framework in town. Go back and look and make sure that your decisions comport with that, so we aren't having to redo them all once they come up on the merits.
Is she just in over her head?
I think so.
Yeah. I mean,
I do think
for
so.
life.
Yes, and keep in mind, she's pretty young. She's in her 50s.
Young.
Yeah.
So yes, we could have 30 years of her being in over her head.
Yeah.
So somebody send her Penn Foster online course or something she can brush up on, or
maybe Supreme Courting for Dummies.
There you go. There's got to be a book out there.
Something. I don't know. All right. Which airlines were best and worst about arriving on time in 2025? We're going to tell you that. We're going to tell you what the numbers say at 6:50.
I think you all know that I've always felt the 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
You know, I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that you're probably not going to do a lot of deck or fence construction today, given all the rain that's moving through the area. So before you decide to take that on yourself, and then probably what you're going to do is you're going to go to the home improvement store and you're going to buy some wood and you're going to kind of measure it out. And you're like, I can do this. And then what's going to happen is, even if you do a decent job at it, then you got to stain it, you got to treat it, then you got to go back and do it again another year or two later, and then do it again a year or two later, and then you got to start changing out the ones that have some water damage or the ones that get a little warpy on there. Or you can go to stlfenceworks.com right now and click on their estimate button and put in what it is you want to do, and you're going to get a virtual reality visual look at that with a ballpark figure of what it's going to cost, and you're going to find, wait a minute, that's not as expensive as I thought, and you're going to have it done by professionals, and you're going to have American-made goods, American-made materials with a local crew, not contracted and subcontracted out. They're not going to go to the home improvement store and go round up the guys in the parking lot. STL Fence Works has been in business here in St. Louis for 50 years. They know what they're doing. Their reputation's on the line, and they have a fantastic reputation. And so look what you can do. Look what they can do for you. It is guaranteed work, and it's going to save you time and money in the end, and it's going to turn your home into that retreat. Be that home that people walk by and go, I wish our home could look like that. Well, they can make that work for you. STLFenceworks.com.
News, analysis, opinion.
It almost seems common sense, but, alas, common sense isn't so common these days.
News Talk STL.
Democracy is loud, and on Tuesday, June 2nd, you can be right in the middle of it. News Talk STL is bringing the St. Charles County Executive Primary Debate to Lindenwood University in St. Charles at the J. Scheidegger Center for the Arts. No reservations, no tickets, just show up. Can't make it in person? Catch every word live on News Talk STL from 7 to 8:30 p.m. The St. Charles County Executive Primary Debate on June 2nd. Brought to you by the St. Charles County Republican Central Committee, Mid-Rivers News Magazine, Lewis & Clark's Pachyderms Club, and the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University.
Tony Colombo here for All Solutions Pest Control, the team Christine and I trust to protect our home. We've used multiple services at multiple homes over the years, and I can tell you from all that experience, All Solutions is second to none. If you have a pest problem of any kind, or more importantly, just want to prevent a problem, All Solutions is the team to call. Learn more and take advantage of their incredible $67 introductory offer right now at allsolutionspestcontrol.com.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hey, this is Vince Colonnese. I'll talk to you tonight at 8. But now, back to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show on News Talk STL.
Okay, so the targets are there, but the president says he's delaying another round of attacks in the war against Iran. Also, police say 2 teenagers attack a mosque in what they are describing as a hate crime. There's a lot more that we don't know than what we do know, and this is a situation where I think a lot of people have to say, okay, am I going to be consistent when it comes to attacking people because of their faith? Even if there are questions about the victims, but in this case, they're victims.
Absolutely.
They were victims who were attacked unprovoked.
Right.
And we need to be consistent on that. And the fight over Missouri's new congressional map is back in court for whatever round this is. I've lost track at this point. All right, 6:52. Let's go ahead and do a news dump.
The Morning News Dump, brought to you by The Nutrition Stop.
The Morning News Dump. Are you joking? Is this a joke?
Listen, folks.
The Morning News Dump.
Okay, so President Trump at the White House giving an update regarding his postponed military strike on Iran after leaders in the Middle East are reported to have asked him to hold off.
I've put it off for a little while, hopefully maybe forever, but possibly for a little while, because we've had very big discussions with Iran. and we'll see what they amount to.
And of course, he kept going back to where he started, which is they can't have a nuclear bomb, they can't have enriched uranium, and that's where he kept going with that. Okay, an area state representative wants a special session called in order to suspend Missouri's 29.5 cents per gallon gas tax. Yeah, Tricia Burns' suggestion is similar to a proposal in Congress that would suspend the collection of the federal gas tax, which is 18.4 cents per gallon. There's been no response from the governor on this. As of this morning, AAA says the average price for a gallon of gas in the state is $4.53. I did see cheaper than that around here, because now I'm looking, now that you've mentioned it.
I saw $3.99 this morning.
Oh, really? Where did you see that?
The Phillips there on Dorset.
Oh, no kidding. I saw
between the highway and Chutes.
I think it was $4.19 is what I saw, which is less. I will be really surprised if the governor calls a special session for something like this.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen.
Okay, so we're going to throughout the morning try to keep you updated on what's happening regarding this situation in San Diego. 3 people are dead after 2 shooters opened fire at the Islamic Center of San Diego. That happened Monday afternoon. The suspects both are dead, and police say they're investigating it as a hate crime. The city's police chief, Scott Wall, tells reporters that between 50 and 100 officers entered the building searching for the shooters.
Our initial officers that got on scene did not engage with the suspects in the parking lot. They began to make entry into the Islamic Center. They observed 3 deceased bodies outside of the center.
Okay, so the believed shooters, I've read reports to say 17 and 18 years old and 17 and 19 years old. But either way, you're talking about teenagers, young men here. One of them, their names, which let's see here, the names were once again Clark. Is it Clark Kane? I think it was. Yeah, Kane Clark, 17 years old, and then either 18 or 19 years old, Caleb Velasquez, were found dead from apparent self-inflicted gunshot wounds near that mosque. And so what we have here is just a beyond horrific situation. And, I mean, listen, I'm not shy about the fact that I don't have much use for the Islamic faith, but that's irrelevant in a situation like this. These people were attacked because of their faith, and it doesn't matter whether I agree or not.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so take the faith out of it.
Right.
Were you okay with the hoodlums that ran around Austin on Thursday or on Saturday, Sunday, shooting up places and causing a partial shutdown and injuring people? No, then you shouldn't be okay with this either.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You cannot terrorize people like this. You cannot go shooting people like this. Yeah. You can't do it.
Yeah, this is terrorism the same way that the attack on the synagogue in Michigan was, and all the others. Yeah, it's the same concept. So a lot of questions as to the shooters, or who would apparently are the shooters. We don't know. We know that the police were looking for at least one of them before they started shooting.
Yeah.
Because his mother said, he's gone, my car's gone, my guns are gone, or at least some of the guns are gone. And they were actively looking for him. I don't remember which one it was by name, but it was Kane Clark. Mm-hmm. So they were looking for them because something was going on, and people knew, they were trying to prevent something like this from happening. They didn't know what they were going to do, obviously. So yeah, just a horrific situation here. All right, another lawsuit is filed in an attempt to stop Missouri from implementing the new congressional map. Activist group People Not Politicians is asking a court to compel Secretary of State Denny Hoskins to certify their referendum petition that challenges the new map, which is drawn to give Republicans an additional seat in Congress. But here's the thing. By law, Hoskins has until August 4th to certify that petition, and that's if it has enough valid signatures to put the measure on the ballot, which it appears to. But essentially what they're saying is, okay, his deadline is legally August 4th, but courts, he can do it now. Make him do it now.
Yeah.
Is really what they're arguing.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to work.
I don't think it is either.
Okay, a new scorecard says the airline industry had the worst year for on-time arrivals in a decade in 2025.
Oof.
The Public Interest Research Group analyzed federal records and found that 1 in every 12 flights last year arrived at least an hour late. 1 in 12. Both delays and flight cancellations were up in 2025. Frontier Airlines had the worst showing, with 11.5% of their flights arriving at least an hour late. JetBlue and Allegiant were close behind, 10.7%, 9.7% respectively. And the best airlines for on-time arrivals were Hawaiian, Alaskan, and Southwest.
How much of that had to do with the shutdowns?
that was factored in towards the end of the year. That they and I don't even know that cancellations were factored in, just the delays. So I'm sure that was, but that was the worst since, what was it, 2014?
Yeah,
was the worst.
I mean, we had 2
had.
shutdowns last year and
Yeah.
another shutdown this year. So
Yeah. All right, the Cardinals, weather permitting, in theory, are going to start a series with the Pirates tonight. We'll see whether that happens. First pitch, conceptually, at 6:45, with Matthew Liberatore allegedly going to be on the mound if the weather allows it.
Allegedly.
Mike Ferguson here. Retirement should be a time you can relax. No more stress from work. But there's one thing you can't forget about when retiring. That's your money. Do you have enough saved to fund your income for life and keep up with inflation? How will you claim your Social Security benefits? And what about long-term care? The ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel is here to help answer all of these questions. You can hear their latest views on the markets and investing during On the Money, hosted by Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert, every Saturday morning at 9, right here on News Talk STL. They can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call 636-695-2650, 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas & Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Are you being audited or investigated? Has the IRS sent you a letter demanding payment? You may not owe what they claim. Make this free call to the tax doctor now. Let them negotiate with the IRS on your behalf.
800-240-4586. 800-240-4586. That's 800-240-4586.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. Following an appeal by the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar, President Trump has shelved plans to attack Iran, putting the attack on hold for now. Allow some more time for diplomacy. The president demands Iran loosen its grip on the Strait of Hormuz and abandon its quest for nuclear weapons. As he travels to China, Russia's president releases a video for the Chinese people.
Vladimir Putin's video address claimed that Russia and China were expanding ties economically, politically, and in defense. He'll be eager to discuss selling more oil and gas to what he calls his dear friend, Mr. Xi. And there will be talks about a new Siberian pipeline between their two nations. Since Mr. Putin's invasion of Ukraine, Russia has become far more reliant on China's economy. For Beijing, this is a balancing act, particularly after Mr. Trump's visit last week. China wants stable relations with the West, but strategically, Russia is a close neighbor. Mr. Xi wants to appear capable of talking to all sides.
The BBC's Laura Bicker. A security guard is among the 3 people killed. A shooting at the Islamic Center of San Diego. Police Chief Scott Wall says it's considered a hate crime. 2 suspects, ages 17 and 19, were found dead, apparently of self-inflicted gunshot wounds. Kentucky among a half-dozen states holding primaries today. GOP Congressman Thomas Massey being challenged by retired Navy Special Forces veteran Ed Galrine, who's endorsed by President Trump. After 3 days, there is a tentative deal to end New York's Long Island Railroad strike. Partial service is expected to resume at noon today. Watching Wall Street, the Dow futures are down 109 points, while the NASDAQ futures are off 219. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Progressive presents Perfectly Bad Excuses for Missing Stuff to Spend More Time on Your Motorcycle.
Hey, Tom. Gonna miss the 5K. Gotta organize my vitamins. A, B, C. There's so many. D,
Now that was a bad excuse. If you love your vehicle this much, get customized coverage from Progressive, America's #1 motorcycle insurer. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in D.C.
Spring cleaning isn't just for your house, it's for your life. If your job is getting old, it's time to clear the clutter and spring into IT. Go to My Computer Career.
My Computer Career helped me get the skills and certifications I needed to start a new life as an IT professional in months, not years.
Earn the certifications the top employers are looking for right now. Visit mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation to see if it's time to spring into IT. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
From the Michael's Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Shan Scotch with your first alert forecast. We're going to be tracking afternoon highs towards the upper 70s, some scattered showers and storms. Still a first alert weather day, as we could see some isolated chances of some of those becoming a little bit stronger later on, but still in a flood watch till a little bit later today. Then into Wednesday, things calm back down. Mostly cloudy skies, highs towards the upper 60s, approaching 70. By Thursday, 72 degrees, mostly cloudy. Friday, more chances of showers and storms. Temperatures continue to rise, though, through Memorial Day weekend. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Shan Scotch.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Business owners, download your free playbook for financial clarity at SerenityWealthBiz.com. That's SerenityWealthBiz.com.
The Herzog Tomorrow Foundation provides private school tuition scholarships through Missouri's new Most Scholars program to cover the cost of accessible, high-quality schooling.
Hi, this is Myella Esser with the Herzog Tomorrow Foundation. Our private school tuition scholarships wouldn't be possible without the support of generous Missouri taxpayers. If you're a Missouri taxpayer interested in redirecting your tax dollars and sending them to Missouri students in need of a better education, please contact me at herzogmostscholars.org.
Better education for students creates a better tomorrow for all. Learn how you can help provide a better education for Missouri students at herzogmostscholars.org. That's herzogmostscholars.org. Also, sign up for The Lion, an initiative of the Herzog Foundation that carries articles covering a wide range of issues facing American families and culture. herzogfoundation.com. That's herzogfoundation.com.
Mike Ferguson.
I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal.
Susie Moore.
They look very aggressive. I think they want to beat me up.
Get up, St. Louis.
So it's time to get out of bed. Pour yourself the greatest cup of Kofifi the world has ever seen. Rise up with one voice. Drain the swamp and take back our country. Today's the day we're going to do it, and it's time to do it right now, believe me.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
All right, big day in that Luigi Mangione case. You know, it's interesting how that's been pushed off of the headlines with just everything else that's going on in the world. But it was a big day. Of course, people were watching this very, very closely, not just because of it being a high-profile, dramatic murder case, but because what you have is, you know, essentially somebody targeted because they don't like the system. They don't like the healthcare system. They don't like that, and so you got a murder and people celebrating Luigi Mangione. I mean, there were people outside of the courtroom celebrating any gains that he gets. They're making this guy into a hero of some kind. It's just really, really, really sick. Okay, so now we're joined by John Gordon, and John's been on the show before. He's the host of The Truth with John Gordon, also a graduate of Mercer University Law in Georgia, so we got a background here. And he ran as the Republican candidate for Georgia Attorney General in 2022 as well. So got a little bit of a legal background here, just saying, John, putting your creds out there. Appreciate you being on the program here. So Susie, being an attorney as well, I'm really looking forward to digging into this. We were kind of doing just a surface dive a few minutes ago. And so we look at some evidence being excluded. Prosecution can't use it in state court on this one. Some stuff being allowed in on this based on the things that are not allowed to be in, the evidence that's not going to be allowed to be used. What's your take of why the judge made that decision, and how much does that hurt the case for the prosecution, if at all?
Well, the judge is trying to give Mangione a fair trial, and that's what every defendant is entitled to, regardless of how egregious their act, the alleged act, was or is. in Mangione's case, they excluded his backpack, which was not under his control, which is reasonable. And they also excluded statements that he made before he was read his Miranda rights. That's the law. So kudos to the judge for following the law.
Good morning, John. This is Susie Moore. Could you speak to that a little bit broader so people kind of understand, like when we're talking about a criminal trial, and yes, emotionally, people have one reaction to things, and sometimes they don't understand why judges rule and exclude certain evidence that would seem obvious that it should be part of the case. Can you speak to that kind of that broader concept?
Well,
Yeah, hang on. Hey, John. John, I'm sorry, jump in. We lost you for a second on the phone. Would you mind just starting over that answer because we lost you for a second?
Sure. In the 1960s and 70s, there was a wave of Supreme Court decisions that made it tried to make it a fair playing field for police and prosecutors vis-a-vis the defendant, and so the Supreme Court may impose new rules that basically gave the defendant rights to make it a level playing field. And so that was the era that the Miranda decision came down that said that police had to give you a Miranda reading, which was said you had a right to counsel, you had a right to remain silent, and that anything you said could be used against you in a court of law. And so that actually played into this case because they asked Mangione certain questions before they read him his Miranda rights, and the judge excluded them. Well, I don't think those are really going to be material to the prosecution of this case, but the judge is clearly following the law that the Supreme Court has ruled on some years ago and is now well-established law.
Okay, so everybody's watching this case, around the country to some degree, maybe around the world, but definitely around the country, John. And, there are political issues involved, there are economic issues involved, there are social issues involved as far as those who are watching from the outside. How can all of that be insulated from just getting to the facts inside the courtroom? I mean, I got to guess that that's not as simple as it would seem when you've got all kinds of outward pressure from activists and media and all kinds of stuff. How does a judge keep that from influencing getting to a correct decision?
Well, he can instruct the jury to ignore it, which is like trying to tell someone to unring the bell. But, in this day of fast-paced, instant news flashes, it's very hard to control what a potential juror may have seen or heard, and it's unrealistic in many cases to think that that's not going to influence the juror's opinion. But all you can do is the best you can do, and I think that's what will happen in this case.
John, one of the interesting facets of this is, of course, this involves the state court proceedings and the state court judge from New York making this ruling. That's where he is going to be tried. But he was apprehended in Pennsylvania by Pennsylvania law enforcement authorities. And Pennsylvania may have different laws as far as what comes in and what gets excluded when you're talking about initial apprehension of a suspect, that sort of thing. Can you speak at all to the difference of the law between the states and why the New York applies even though he was apprehended in Pennsylvania?
Well, you make a really good point, and that is some fine lawyering that will probably unfold in the case. But the crime was committed in New York, so clearly that's where the jurisdiction lies. He was apprehended in Pennsylvania because that's where he was fleeing, in the process of fleeing from the scene of the crime a week later. So the laws, the evidentiary laws that we're talking about are really precedent that's established by the U.S. Supreme Court that applies regardless of what state a defendant may be in or committed a crime in or apprehended in. So those are the rules that we're really discussing this morning. State law does come into play in some ways, like in the Charlie Kirk trial out in Utah, they've had a raging battle about whether to allow cameras in the courtroom, and that's clearly an issue for the states, and state law governs. But Miranda rights, that's the Supreme Court. Warrantless searches and seizures, that is clearly Supreme Court edict.
Hey, John, a lot of people are looking at this just basically from that perspective of the bigger things at hand outside of just the people involved in the crime and in the murder right here. Why is it important? Let's say somebody looks at this and says, this is a murder. This was basically a guy targeted for assassination, meaning Thompson. And you know what? Mangioni's the bad guy because he's the leftist, he's the socialist, whatever the case is. Others are saying, you know what? This represented an attack on, this industry, this pseudo quasi, corporate cronyist industry. And you know what? He was the bad guy. He was hurting people. So great. He was targeted. So people are looking at all these things outside of the courtroom and the activism implication. Why is it crucial to whatever side we're on? Why is it so crucial to say all of that matters far less than just the facts of the case? Because, I may look at Luigi Mangione and go, this was an assassin who was shooting somebody that he didn't even know just simply for ideological reasons. He's a bad guy. I want him locked up because he's a murderer who did that for this reason. Why is it important that somebody like me say, okay, hold on, let's make sure that we go through the right process?
Well, because the process is designed to protect the innocent, not the guilty. And so who was it that said better to let 100 guilty people go free than to convict one innocent person? And that's why the laws of our country have been structured the way they are. It's not because we're soft on murderers. It's because we want to protect the rights of innocent people. And again, harking back to the 60s during the Civil Rights era, there are a lot of people that were put on death row who have subsequently been cleared once DNA evidence became a viable defense. And so we strain in these days and times to protect the innocent. But what I think you're getting to really is partially related to intent. And so if there are different levels of murder in the face of the justice. And so an intentional calculated murder is punished differently than one that is in a heat of passion or is a impromptu sort of an event. And so the prosecutors are going to work hard to show that this was a planned, very carefully executed murder and one that would be subject to the death penalty. But that then does get back to state law, and would New York allow the imposition of the death penalty? I frankly don't know, but my guess would be that they don't.
Yeah, I don't think the death penalty is on the table either in the New York case or in the federal case. But that was going to be my follow-up question as far as helping people understand why there's going to be both a state trial and then a federal trial.
Well, you would think that the rules of double jeopardy would apply at some point, and that's what the defense will argue, and I think rightfully so. I mean, I think that prosecutors should get one bite of the apple. So we'll have to see how that plays out. I really don't know the answer to your question.
All right, John, The Truth with John Gordon. We find that where, and if we want to follow you on social media, which I hope people do, what's the best way to do that?
Well, we're on Rumble, Getter, Instagram, Facebook. Just look for John Gordon Truth. You can also go to johngordon.tv and find all of our past episodes.
All right, John, good to talk to you, and thanks so much.
Pleasure to talk to you, too.
Thanks, John. There's an emerging industry that caters to leftists and some others who want to leave America, literally. We'll tell you about that coming up at 7:20.
Don't try to make me stop, no inspiration. You have a soul sewn up, it is no more. And all at once depart, no destination. You're making cold my heart to fight your war. Stop right now.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
I like it, but they're going a little overboard with the dancing.
On News Talk STL.
Before you blow us all away.
Susie here to talk to you about Michael's Flooring Outlet. They're a locally owned and operated family business for more than 30 years, so you know you can count on them. I've used Michael's in the past. I had a great experience with them, and you will too, from start to finish. If it's variety you're looking for, Michael's has it. They've got carpet, they've got hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, luxury vinyl, natural stone. Whatever you might be looking for in the way of flooring, Michael's has it. Plus, you know with Michael's, your installation is going to be done right the first time because it's being done by the experts at Michael's, not just like a random subcontractor. With Michael's, you get the best combination ever. You get great quality and great value. So if you're thinking it might be time for new flooring, even if you're just starting to think about it, you want to go check out Michael's. You can shop in store at one of their 3 locations, on Olive and Creve Coeur, on Town Square in Darting Prairie, or on Main Street in St. Peters. Or you can shop from the comfort of your own home. Just go online to igotfloored.com.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The region's top flooding expert has resigned from U-City Stormwater Commission. We'll talk to David Stokes about this if I'm able to make it into the studio from my U-City home.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
License number GL2500615.
You're cooking dinner. The lights go out. You flip the breaker and forget about it.
But what if it keeps tripping?
Trips once, your breaker's doing its job. Keeps tripping? That's a warning. Bad wiring or something worse.
Do people just keep flipping it?
Most do, until they can't anymore.
Call Grasser. We'll stop the trip.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeservices.com.
Ever feel like just a number in a waiting room? Hi, I'm Shannon Tribune, Director of Operations with Body of Health Direct Primary Care. Navigating the medical system can be a maze of stress. I'm your personal guide at Body of Health. I handle the messy parts of medical care, the logistics and complex coordination, both in and outside our walls, so you and Dr. Tobler, that's my dad, can focus on what matters most, your health. At Body of Health, you're not just a patient, you're part of the family, because that's healthcare the way it ought to be. To learn more, schedule a discovery call at bodyofhealth.com.
This app is absolutely fantastic.
Yes, I listen on my phone.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
It is awesome.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere.
The secret side of me, I never let you see. I keep it caged, but I can't control it.
Hi, it's Vic Porcelli.
And Ken.
Hi, Ken.
Hey, Vic.
Ken and I are on every Monday through Friday here on News Talk STL. Right now, you're listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Whoosh, my morning people.
Okay, hopefully we've got time to get into this. Like we said, apparently I'm leaving this country if I don't like the way the politics are going crowd is actually doing it. In numbers that may surprise you.
For them.
There's a cottage industry that's growing, which caters to people who just want out of America.
I'm going to guess they're going to check into the rules of the places they're going to make sure they abide by them before they go there.
Yes.
Oh,
and
okay.
they're paying a lot of money to go to these seminars to learn exactly that.
Fantastic.
But there's enough of a market for it now that they're putting that these seminars are almost conferences and conventions of people who are looking to leave the country. Interesting on that. 7:21 right now. Okay, so we got kind of I guess not a surprise, but we got some feedback here with State Representative Michael Burton, Democrat State Representative. And Michael, first of all, hey, good talking to you. Secondly, you had some thoughts on, because I mentioned Tricia Burns is calling for the suspension of the gas tax and asking the governor to call a special session, which I will be shocked if actually happens. But what were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I just think it's I don't know if Representative Burns knows this, but I know I've spoken about it many times, is that Missouri is 47th in the country at funding our transportation department per mile. And so obviously there are some issues with MoDOT, with snow getting cleared and potholes and slow projects, and I share the same frustrations. But if we're the third to worst state at funding our transportation department per mile, I don't think that making us probably the worst state at funding our transportation department is going to make the roads and bridges any safer.
You know what's interesting, Michael, is that when Senator Hawley proposed the legislation, similar legislation in D.C., because the president said, well, maybe we'll just not collect the federal tax for a few months, that sort of thing. You know who actually agreed with your perspective now regarding the federal, because the state thing hadn't happened yet, was the Show Me Institute, which I suspect you probably don't agree with them a lot on a lot of things. But David Stokes said basically what you just said. So this may be less of a partisan thing than what a lot of people may think.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's easy to get frustrated at MoDOT, at Missouri Department of Transportation, and who doesn't want to pay less taxes, right?
Sure.
But you just you have to. I just want everybody to have all the information. You know, for instance, I'd like for the governor to call a special session to pass a summer camp safety law, because currently, right now, we don't have any laws regarding summer camps. No mandatory background checks, no CPR training, no AED training, no emergency plan is mandated in the state of Missouri, and we know there's been sexual abuse at summer camps. Children have died there. So I could see us doing, that's another bipartisan issue that I think that the governor should call a special session for to protect our kids. But I don't see it happening with the gas tax. And also when it comes to just making everybody aware, I also, an income tax, who likes paying taxes? I sure don't. But if the people vote to eliminate the income tax, it's giving us legislators 5 years to increase the sales tax on any and all potentially goods and services. And every nonpartisan institute has looked at it and said roughly 80% of Missourians will end up paying more in taxes. So if you take from one place that's 2/3 of our general revenue, you're going to have to increase taxes someplace else. And I don't really trust politicians for 5 years just raising sales taxes on all kinds of things.
Yeah, this is going to be the debate over the next 3 months or so. All right. Hey, Michael, State Representative Michael Burton, appreciate you calling in unscheduled. And I was happy to do it. Thanks so much. Appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
Have a good one.
Yeah, you got it. Because, I suspect he and I are going to disagree on most things. Yeah. And the obviously, Ben Keithley and Nick Schroer and all the others have a different take on the income tax, sales tax thing, but that's going to be the debate going forward. We're going to hash out what is and what is not on that.
It is, but I just want to take a moment to bask in the, kind of pleasant experience of having common ground with political opposition on 2 of the 3 things he said I'm on board with. I don't know if we need a special session for the summer camp thing, but I think that's legitimate.
Yeah,
issue
that was
that should be looked at.
I think I want to say, because I ran into, who was it? Was it Holly Jones or the former state rep who was kind of running point on that? I ran into her at the Capitol when we were there, and she was showing me all this stuff. I think this was the first. I could be wrong, but I think this was the first year that set of regulations were proposed.
Okay,
I don't know that there was a push for it before. And so, as we all know, a lot of times, even the stuff that a lot of people agree on, it takes a while to get it through. So if there's going to be a special session, I would be a little surprised if that would be one of the topics that were called, unless it's in conjunction with other things.
Right.
I haven't heard anything out of the Capitol regarding special sessions at all.
Correct. But I'm just saying, like, the cause itself, where I think we're in agreement on. So I appreciate Michael calling in, and I appreciate being able to find that common ground, because we so rarely are able to do that. So that was good.
Yep. Okay. Let's see here. A lot going on today. My goodness, a lot going on today. So you want to balance your information diet. Obviously including news from redstate.com's conservative lens. So, Susie, what is available today that we should check out?
This is the Red State Rundown.
Today, you want to check this out from Ben Smith, although it might make you pull your hair out. Washington knows exactly where the waste is and keeps doing nothing about it. He's highlighting a report from the Government Accountability Office that lays out all the different areas where there's clear fraud and waste and abuse, and they keep reporting on it, and Congress keeps doing nothing to act on it. And again, talking about a bipartisan issue, this is one of those things that everybody should be able to get behind, but for some reason they drag their feet on it. So Ben's highlighting that, and as I said, it may make you want to pull your hair out. From Brandon Morse, we've got, who is the king of streaming? Data suggests surprising. Now, this is a VIP article from Brandon, and it's talking about what the top streaming service is. It's YouTube, which means it's mostly individual created content as opposed to like corporate created content. It like blows the other ones away. So interesting perspective on that. And then
We're still being throttled by YouTube, by the way.
Yeah,
Totally.
This one, I mean, I know we've been talking about the California races a lot, but what happens there could influence what happens in the rest of the country.
Sure.
So this LA mayoral race is big, and Spencer Pratt, who's challenging Karen Bass, he posted an incredible response to the Dem attack against him. They're claiming, he's living at a hotel in Bel Air. Well, yeah, because his house burned down.
Yeah.
And so he kind of leaned into that, and he did a little Fresh Prince of Bel Air takeoff with, him like kind of with his little streamline behind him. It's kind of funny. It's basically like, yeah, I'm going to stand right up and say, exactly. When I have to be in that area, like early in the morning, I have stayed in a hotel. That doesn't mean my home didn't burn down. It doesn't mean I'm not an LA resident, and it doesn't mean that I'm not, fighting for what I think is right here.
Yeah, I saw a meme about him and whoever, his wife's another famous person.
Heidi.
Right? Sure. Her, yes.
Mhm.
And it was like, he's dining out at this restaurant here, and somebody was like, it was like a gotcha thing, and then somebody retweeted, and they're like, so where's their kitchen?
Yeah. In the Airstream.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got two. Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous. Yeah, Heidi, he and Heidi came to prominence as reality stars together on the same show. And so that's how they're known.
Okay, got it. Yeah. Okay, so we just got a minute or so left. So I want to hold off on this this thing about the cottage industry of Americans leaving. We just had better stuff that just popped up here. So I'm going to try to find a way to get that in a little bit later, because I think it's really interesting because the numbers. Now, we're not. It turns out. Let me go to one of the kind of spoilers here is that in 2025, and I'm taking this article from CNBC, is that 2025 was the first time in any sort of recent memory where the United States had a net negative immigration. Now, a lot of that has to do with obviously shutting down the border and the number of deportations, but we're talking a couple 100,000 Americans voluntarily simply deciding to go live somewhere else in the world, become expats. And so there are enough people who are saying, I want to leave America, that there's now an industry popping up and showing, say, okay, here's how you do it. Here's what you need to know, everything from taxes to finances to insurance to visas to if you want to go to this part of the world, here's your breakout session, this part of the world, and here's how to do it. But there are people spending big money to learn how to leave the United States, which, hey,
More power to them.
Right. Yeah. Do your thing.
Just do it right. I mean, follow the rules.
Right. And CNBC was asking, in the vast majority of those who were answering for this report on CNBC said it was over politics.
Of course it is.
They said.
Of course it is.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, there's a lot of people like, if he gets elected, I'm leaving. If this court rules this way, I'm leaving. And apparently, there's a lot of people who actually are doing it.
Yeah. No, I guess they realize that, the political world changes, and, we do have elections every 4 years.
We have cycles.
Yeah. But okay. No, more power to them.
Yeah. Yeah. I do want to dig into that more. Hopefully, if not today, maybe tomorrow, because I think it's that interesting. And then I'll put the question out. Okay, would you consider leaving America and living somewhere else in the world for any reason whatsoever? I think it's an interesting question.
Heck no. On a more somber note, though, there has been another attack on a faith-based center. So at 7:35, we'll update you on what we know, what we don't know about the shooting at the mosque that's in the headlines right now.
It comes away again, I can't control it. Hiding under the bed, in my body, in my head. Why won't somebody come and save me from this?
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
The biggest terror threat in this country is white men.
His remarks are racist.
On NewsTalk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Shan Scotch with your first alert forecast. We're going to be tracking afternoon highs towards the upper 70s, some scattered showers and storms. Still a first alert weather day, as we could see some isolated chances of some of those becoming a little bit stronger later on, but still in a flood watch till a little bit later today. Then into Wednesday, things calm back down. Mostly cloudy skies, highs towards the upper 60s, approaching 70. By Thursday, 72 degrees, mostly cloudy. Friday, more chances of showers and storms. Temperatures continue to rise, though, through Memorial Day weekend. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Gouch.
Jamie Allman here, tossing and turning over retirement worries. You're not alone. 3 out of 4 Americans share your concern about having enough saved. But here's the thing. A comfortable retirement isn't out of reach, even if you're planning for 30 or 40 years ahead. Every day, Jeff Portman from the Gemini Wealth Group helps people avoid the critical mistakes that can derail their retirement. Build your path to financial confidence. Visit GeminiWealthGroup.com or call Jeff directly at 314-888-0123.
Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor. Member FINRA SIPC.
Larry Connor's Commentary, brought to you by Vincent's Jewelers, offering a wide selection of jewelry, including lab-grown diamonds, affordable earrings, bracelets, necklaces, and rings, up to 75% off their natural counterparts. Visit VincentsJewelers.com. This is Larry Connor's Commentary on News Talk STL.
Today, Thomas Massie is trying to remain a Kentucky congressman. He's held office since 2012. Trump calls the Republican the worst congressman in history. And Massie says every time Trump condemns me, I get more campaign money. But what will the vote show? Louisiana Senator Bill Cassidy learned you cross Trump, you could end your political career. The two-term U.S. Senator, one of 7 Republicans who voted to impeach Trump based on January 6th. This last weekend, Cassidy came in 3rd in the Louisiana primary. Fellow Louisiana GOP Senator Kennedy said the writing was on the wall. Trump is already endorsing one of the remaining Republicans, but Senator Kennedy said, I'm not getting involved unless one of them says something about my mama. And Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen said the political winds are blowing strong enough, Democrats will reclaim the House. I'm thinking Democrats will fail, but don't take my words for it and think I don't need to vote. You make sure you vote. Van Hollen says you and other Trump supporters, you are a cult. A cult? A cult? Trump won with 77 million votes. That is one hell of a cult.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
Dozens of out-of-state law firms are crashing into St. Louis trying to get your business. My advice, rely on a hometown firm. Under Law has been here for years. There are lawyers raising their families right alongside yours. And when you're injured by someone's careless actions, you are entitled to full compensation. You want lawyers who will not bend to big insurance, but will stand defiantly protecting you. Under Law, O-N-D-E-R, underlaw.com. Under wins.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
This year, America turns 250, and News Talk STL is celebrating our nation's semi-quincentennial all year long. News Talk STL, #1 for live and local Soros-free talk, with proud supporters of our 250th birthday celebration. Anthony's Produce, Cole O. Combs, and Heroes Care. 250 years strong, and we're just getting started. 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Chris Arps here, and after Becky and I leave church on Sunday, we head down the street to Capriotti's to grab a classic meatball sub. I love Capriotti's, and you will too. Visit Capriotti's now at 2 locations on Manchester, McKnight, and Rock Hill, and now in Creve Coeur on Olive, just 1 mile west of 270.
Free speech is alive and well in America right here.
It's about time somebody stood up for true American values.
What this country needs is some backbone.
Finally, a president who wants to make real change.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Let's get back to all this madcap mayhem with Mike Ferguson in the morning. But don't forget, stick around for Jones and Arps every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m.
All right, let's get real. You don't have to agree with or even like the religion to understand that murdering people over their religion is in and of itself evil.
Well, yeah, it is.
Yeah. and it appears, at least that's the early indication in San Diego, is that appears to be what has happened out there. Now, there's more that we don't know than there is what we do know, but what we do know, is that police are saying that we say teenagers, we're talking 17 and either 18 or 19, depending on the news article you're reading. I've seen it reported as both a 17 and an 18-year-old and a 17 and a 19-year-old, basically pushed their way into this really big Islamic center in San Diego and just started open firing, killing 3 people, including a security guard who apparently really slowed them down and kept it from being a much, much higher casualty count. We're now joined by our very own Chris Arps. You can hear him every afternoon right here on News Talk STL. See him on Newsmax pretty often as well, giving his punditry as well. So, Chris, I mean, I heard this story here, and then I immediately start thinking of the attack on the synagogue in Michigan, and I think about we see this far more often targeted at synagogues and Jewish communities, but in this case, I'm not sure it really matters which religion was in play. It was a matter of
It also saddens me to the fact of what has happened to our children, what has happened to our teenagers. Mike, you and I are roughly about the same age, Susie too. I mean, when we were 17 and 18 and 19, the delinquents TP'd someone's house. They vandalized someone's house. They got caught smoking weed. Never did we ever see anything like taking weapons and going and killing people and committing, mass murder. It just saddens me to see how debased our culture has come in a relatively short period of time.
Yeah, Chris, I guess we could think about it all day and ponder what might be behind that seeming devolution, if you will, one that involves basically just devaluing human life and looking at people who are different from you, whether it's because of their beliefs or their religion or their looks, and that they're not worthy of the same respect and human dignity we should give to everyone. But if you had to point to what do you think is behind that, what do you think it is?
I mean, I think it's 2 things. One, we've heard this a million times, is values aren't taught in school anymore. You can't put the 10 Commandments up. All of that's old-fashioned and old hat. And the other thing I think what maybe specific to this situation is these kids were supposedly suicidal, which means that they were depressed. The HHS Secretary Robert Kennedy put out something last week trying to discourage the use of these antidepressants because we've seen so many people, especially young people, be on these antidepressants and commit suicidal and homicidal acts like we saw yesterday. So I think it's a combination of some of these kids that already have emotional problems, they're overly medicated, and just the devaluing of our culture just by not teaching values anymore. I think those 2 things probably have a lot to do with it.
I was just reading an article that popped up, Chris, regarding an update, and essentially it looks like in one of the shooter's homes, of course, as we all know, the mother reported that he was missing, suicidal, as you just said, took some guns. Apparently he left a note behind, but they're not elaborating on what the note said, other than let's see here, FBI's special agent in charge in San Diego said that his words, there was definitely hate rhetoric that was involved on that note. So that's one of the things we're going to watch for today on that. We're visiting with Chris Arps here. Of course, you can hear him every afternoon on News Talk STL. And Chris, when we look at something like this, I think a lot of people want to figure out, okay, who's the bad guy, who's the good guy, and if I don't like the victims, then maybe let's find a way to justify something. There's no justification for this sort of thing, even though, like I said, I've read I've read the Quran. I've read their book. It's horrific in my opinion. I have no agreement with or use for or respect of the theology that's involved. That doesn't change the fact that just as evil is targeting people because of their faith. And you can hold both of those views simultaneously. That's just being consistent. But the bigger picture here is, Chris, and what I hope you'll speak to here, is that the bigger picture is that we are going too fast to resort to, they have a different belief, they have a different ideology, let's go ahead and enact violence, let's go ahead and kill them. Now, maybe we're going to find out that these kids were just nuts. Maybe we're going to find that, but the early evidence is that targeting these people because of their religion was at least a factor.
Yeah, definitely. I saw some reports this morning too that said that, of course, that there was a note that was left behind, but I also saw that they had Nazi markings on some of the weapons that they used to commit this crime, and on the weapons that they used to apparently commit suicide. This country was founded on religious freedom, and not Christian freedom, but any freedom that any religion that you want to practice, you should be able to practice it without being harassed or being killed for it. And we've seen all of these attacks on churches, on synagogues, on mosques the last few years. I mean, that's supposed to be a place of worship where you should feel safe. Now that you have to have security guards at these places. I told my pastor a few years ago that I was very concerned about our church, because our church literally has about 8 or 9 different entrances to come into the church, and I was just afraid that someone could come in and commit a heinous crime like we saw yesterday. So, our church now has 1 or 2 entrances that you can come in the morning, not the 8 or 9 that you used to. Unfortunately, that's just a sign of the times. And I also think, too, out in California, they have very strict gun laws. They don't want law-abiding citizens to have guns. But, I think the more instances that we have like this, it shows that, look, if a person is crazy and they want to commit a mass homicide, they're going to be able to do that. They're going to be able to get the weapons. Law-abiding citizens should at least be able to protect themselves and be able to carry a weapon on them.
Yeah, Chris, another facet of this, and we've kind of touched on it already, but it's something that I think bears repeating, and that is, nothing like this happens without it immediately getting put into a framework, and it's either, this was this person, this is what this person's ideology was, this is what this person's ideology was, good person, bad person, depending on who is doing the discussing or reporting of it. How do you feel, as members of the media, what is our responsibility in terms of covering these sorts of things? And obviously we're commenting on it. We're not just doing straight reporting, but there is a line there that has to be followed.
I mean, there is a fact that, and studies have shown this, that a lot of these political mass shootings that have happened over the last few years, the majority of the people have come from a leftist ideology. That is a fact. But I hate that is the fact, because, you have people now that when that happens, those of us on the right, automatically assume that it's some leftist crazy person, or, with this situation that happened yesterday, the left, of course, is going to say that they were right wing and that they were Nazis, and because that's how they are describing themselves. Look, these people, whether they have a leftist or a right ideology, first and foremost, we need to identify them as crazy instead of what their political bent is. And I hope that in the future we can gravitate more towards that instead of trying to put a political spin on it, put the spin that these people have mental issues, and that's what we should be focusing on, not what their political ideology was.
Hey, Chris, last minute or so we've got, okay, that's the really macro picture. That's the big picture as far as the direction of culturally and politically and all that sort of stuff. Let's talk about the micro for a second. Yeah. You've got a mom who said, something's wrong, my kid's gone, something violent could happen. She may or may not have known what he was going to do, maybe. But let's talk about, how do you stop something like this? And it starts with rearing a child. The problems the problems don't suddenly manifest at 16, 17, 18, 19 years old. The home life and what we do, regardless of what the government is, that matters as much or more as anything else.
Tony Colombo had a conversation yesterday on his show with former police officer and state representative Justin Sparks. And one of the part of their conversation talked on how do we keep youth more accountable. And Justin, the former representative, was talking about what we've seen where you got to hold these parents responsible. Look, this woman said that her son was suicidal. This is not something that she just noticed, yesterday or a couple of days before. If a child is suicidal, they've probably been suicidal for weeks or for months. And I think that it's irresponsible for her to not have placed these guns in a place where these kids couldn't have gotten them. I think that, the police, when they investigate, should look at her and look at her culpability in this situation. If you know your son is suicidal, then you should lock up the guns and not let them have easy access to them.
All right, Chris, of course, will be on with Tim this afternoon from 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock. Always appreciate your insight, man. Thanks so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Chris.
Susie. Have a great day. And you too, Jerome.
Don't forget Jerome.
I can't forget Jerome.
No.
Thank you.
He's unforgettable.
Okay.
The fight over Missouri's new congressional map is not over yet, or at least the activist group trying to stop it isn't giving up. They've gone back to court. We'll tell you what their new argument is at 7:50.
The cult of personality. I know your anger. I know your dreams. I've been everything you wanna be. Oh, I'm the cult of personality.
Remember when food tasted like home? When breakfast was made from scratch and dessert was worth saving room for? At Shorty's Diner, we're serving up down-home breakfasts, lunches, and desserts just like Mom used to make. Fresh, from scratch, every single day. Step back in time with us, where the booths are cozy, Elvis is always in the building, and every plate feels like a hug. On Lackland and Westport, or online at shortysdiners.com. Shorty's Diner. It's not fancy. It's not fat-free. It's just the way it used to be.
Hey, it's Susie Moore for Window World. Did you know that in just over the last 20 years, Window World of St. Louis has improved the look and thermal efficiency for over 80,000 customers in St. Louis? Plus, Window World windows come with a lifetime warranty that covers all parts, glass breakage, and labor. And now, Window World is offering 36 months, same as cash financing with approved credit. Call them today at 800-GET-WINDOWS for a free in-home, no-pressure estimate. That's Window World at 800-GET-WINDOWS. They're the preferred window of the St. Louis Blues.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-345-2789. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-345-2789. That's 800-345-2789. For $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-345-2789.
Personified, and I will drag you down and sell you out.
Hey guys, Billy Crow here from Jeffco Patriot Radio. Hope you had enough time to freshen up your coffee, because now we're back with Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Okay, so the targets are there, but the president says he's delaying another round of attacks against Iran. Also, we've just talked about this with Chris, but we'll give you a couple basic details of the 2 teenagers, young men, who attacked a mosque in what's being described as a hate crime by local police. And as Susie said, the fight over Missouri's new congressional map back in court for yet another round. Let's do it again.
All right.
I don't know if anything's going to change, but let's do it again. All right, 7:51. Let's go ahead and do one more news dump here.
Wake up, America. It all worked out.
They got all the news.
The morning news dump.
At the White House, President Trump telling reporters that he is postponing a military strike on Iran after leaders in the Middle East, it's reported, asked him to hold off. Here's what the president had to say.
I've put it off for a little while, hopefully maybe forever, but possibly for a little while, because we've had very big discussions with Iran. And we'll see what they amount to.
And the president says there have been good talks with Iran, but he maintains that they must never be allowed a nuclear weapon, which is where everything started from.
Yep.
On this, yep. Okay, an area state representative wants a special session called in order to suspend Missouri's 29.5 cents per gallon gas tax. Representative Tricia Burns' suggestion seems to be similar to a proposal in Congress that would suspend the collection of the federal gas tax, which is 18.4 cents per gallon. There's been no response from the governor as of this morning. AAA says the average price for a gallon of gasoline throughout the state of Missouri is $4.53.
That's, yeah. I mean, it's high no matter how you slice it.
Yeah.
As I mentioned earlier on the way in this morning, I saw $3.99. So maybe it's moderating. Maybe that station's just running a special today. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think they run specials.
No, I don't think they do either.
Okay, here's a concept that I have a feeling that Jerome's not going to be familiar with as well. Gas Wars. You remember Gas Wars?
I do.
Oh, yeah.
I know Star Wars.
Long, long ago in a galaxy far, far away.
Yeah, in that galaxy far, far away, every once in a while, gas stations that were right next to each other would basically, they would get into a thing where, okay, they're charging back then. I remember, okay, this is going to blow your mind, Jerome. I remember gas under $1 a gallon.
Blasphemy.
I know.
Oh, no. It was legit.
Yeah, but
you could get it for 85 cents.
Oh, yeah. And
well, let's just do that again.
Right.
I'm all for it.
That won't even cover all the taxes at this point. but like, let's say that it was, $2.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then they would run out and lower their price to $1.99. Well, then the other one would run out and $1.98. And then they would get into a gas
like
war.
The price is right and gas.
Yeah, and you just saw the prices go down throughout the day.
Yeah, it's not, I mean, as the consumer, that's fine.
Right.
If they want to get into a bidding war,
yeah,
go ahead.
Absolutely.
Make my day.
Okay, let's see here. Police are saying they're calling this a hate crime after two teenagers, I say teenagers, 17 and either 18 or 19. I've seen it reported as both. Opened fire, killing 3 people at an Islamic center of San Diego on Monday afternoon. Police say the shooters then died by self-inflicted gunshot wounds. The mosque's imam, named Taha Hassana, says the incidents are outrageous and says that he wants peace.
Sending our prayers and standing in solidarity with all the families in our community here. And also the other mosques and all the places of worship in our beautiful city.
Okay, so there is a K through 12 school in this Islamic center apparently, but those children were not anywhere near this crime.
No, thankfully they were not.
They were evacuated. All 3 of the victims are adult males, and then the 2 teenagers killed themselves, according to police. We're going to find out a lot more about this in the coming days and weeks. Just ugly situation all the way around. Just tragic. Yeah. All right. Another lawsuit is filed in an attempt to stop Missouri from implementing the new congressional map. And I know you're saying, wait a minute, Mike, you read that story weeks ago. Oh, no, this is the new and improved one. Seems like I could just copy and paste some of these things and just drop it into each day's stuff.
Just about.
Yeah. Activist group People Not Politicians is asking a court to compel Secretary of State Denny Hoskins to certify their referendum petition. That petition, of course, is challenging the new map. And that new map, of course, is drawn to give Republicans an additional seat in Congress. So by law, Hoskins has until August 4th to certify the petition if it has enough valid signatures in order to put the measure on the ballot. And what they're saying is local election officials who are the ones certifying the signatures from their county, they've already validated enough to put it on the ballot, and they're trying to compel the court to make him certify it early, even though the deadline is not until August 4th. So they're basically saying because he can, he should be compelled to do it. Well, the Secretary of State's been pretty open. He said it on this show. He's going to wait till the last minute to certify it.
Yes, and that's what the law allows for to be done. It just says this is the deadline. You must do it by this date, not that you have to do it before then.
Right. And so they're arguing he should be compelled to do it. I will be shocked if a court goes along with that, but stranger things have happened.
Based on the rulings we've seen thus far, I agree.
Yeah.
I don't see that happening.
Yeah. I mean, and check out that conversation we had with Kurt Barr yesterday, St. Charles County Director of Elections, Republican, conservative, supports the new map. And even he says there are some issues here that are beyond just red and blue stuff as far as elections themselves.
There's a timing issue.
Yeah.
It's like there's like an anomaly that there's no easy answer to.
We could have a real chaotic mess between August and November in the state of Missouri, just saying. Okay, Department of Education recently launched its Workforce Pell Grant program. And this is designed to help recent college graduates enter the workforce faster. Education Secretary Linda McMahon says the program is part of what they're calling the Working Families Tax Cut Act, which I believe was also, was that the One Big Beautiful Bill, I think is?
Yes.
Yeah. And this allows applicants to seek federal grant money for short-term, career-oriented job training programs. And she was on Fox Business's Mornings with Maria, saying it was essential to help the workforce shortage.
And it's going to be a cheaper way to get certifications. You can stack these credentials, in electrical work, HVAC, carpentry, a lot of the skills and workforce that we need because we are desperately in need of this workforce development.
Trades are where it's at right now.
Yeah, they are.
Cardinals are scheduled to play today. We'll see.
Columbo here for my friends at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton. The knowledgeable staff at Bluff City has served the St. Louis outdoor community for decades, and they can take care of all your bow hunting needs, all your trapping needs, all your fishing needs, and more. Plus, while you're there, you can schedule a trip with a local fishing guide and shoot in their archery range. Bluff City Outdoors is open 7 days a week, 1 mile east of Fast Eddie's at 2813 East Broadway in Alton. Follow them on Facebook and at bluffcityoutdoors.com.
NewsTalkSTL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Bunny Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on the St. Louis radio airways for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can now hear Doug and Safe Bunny Radio every weekend on NewsTalkSTL. But in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeBunnyRadio.com. What else do our listeners need to know, Doug?
Simply put, I focus on helping pre-retirees and retirees build, preserve, and protect retirement assets, and I've been helping my clients solve their insurance and financial needs for the past 33 years. I also strive to educate my clients on how to prepare for retirement, minimize the impact of market volatility on their assets, and deal with the challenges of increased longevity. Call me today at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP. Member FINRA and SIPC.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. Despite its ongoing defiance, at least publicly, President Trump is giving Iran another chance to avoid attack. Following an appeal by several Mideast allies, the president has paused a plan to renew attacks on Iran. Correspondent Jonathan Gambrell says it's not clear how this will impact the fragile ceasefire.
It's been shaky, to say the least. Just this weekend, we saw an attack on the Baraka nuclear power plant here in the United Arab Emirates. Now, the UAE hasn't said who it believes is responsible, but Iran and Iranian-backed Shia militias launched numerous drone attacks during the war. Iran itself hasn't claimed it, but it continues to show people in the street armed with weapons, insisting they're ready to resume the fight.
President Trump's key demand has not changed. Iran must never get a nuclear weapon. He also demands Iran allow freedom of navigation in the Strait of Hormuz. A Romanian F-16 jet, part of NATO's air policing forces in the Baltics, has shot down what's thought to be a Ukrainian drone over southern Estonia. The latest in a series of incidents in recent months in which Ukrainian drones aimed at Russia have crossed or come down in NATO territory. Following the 3-day strike that has closed New York's Long Island Railroad,
we're pleased to announce that the parties have reached an agreement.
Kevin Sexton, vice president of the Brotherhood of Locomotive Engineers and Trainmen.
due to the nature of the negotiations, we cannot discuss the specifics. What I can say is we are looking forward to our members getting back to work and doing what they do best, which is serving the region.
LIRR train scheduled to start running again at noon. The railroad serves around 250,000 commuters each and every day. On Wall Street, ahead of this morning's opening bell, the Dow futures are down 81 points. NASDAQ futures off 167 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Progressive knows that boat days can come with unexpected problems.
Oh no, I dropped my lip balm in the water. I can't think of anything worse than the looming threat of potentially having chapped lips. It was ginger vanilla too, my favorite flavor.
If a real problem comes along, your boat's protected 24/7 with Progressive, so you can keep worrying about boater problems. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates, not available in D.C.
Veterans and active duty service members, when your call to service ends, your mission doesn't have to. Go from GI to IT in just a few months at My Computer Career. Prepare for a high-demand career in cybersecurity, protecting people, systems, and institutions from real cyber threats. Cyber warriors are needed now. Will you answer the call? Go to mycomputercareer.edu/CWP to learn more. That's mycomputercareer.edu/CWP, an elite CompTIA certification partner. VA education benefits are available to those who qualify.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Shan Scotch with your first alert forecast. We're going to be tracking afternoon highs towards the upper 70s, some scattered showers and storms. Still a first alert weather day, as we could see some isolated chances of some of those becoming a little bit stronger later on, but still in a flood watch till a little bit later today. Then into Wednesday, things calm back down. Mostly cloudy skies, highs towards the upper 60s, approaching 70. By Thursday, 72 degrees, mostly cloudy. Friday, more chances of showers and storms. Temperatures continue to rise, though, through Memorial Day weekend. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Shan Scotch.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Spring has sprung at Daniel's Farming Greenhouses on Juggerman and St. Peters. Discover our breathtaking 55,000 square feet of greenhouses featuring 8,000 hanging baskets, hundreds of perennials, and 100,000 pods of colorful annuals. From vegetable plants to premium grass seed, mulch to herbs, our knowledgeable staff is ready to answer all your questions. Start spring off right with pansies, potted tulips, and everything your garden craves. Daniel's Farming Greenhouses. Visit us today on Juggerman or online at danielsfarmandgreenhouses.com.
Tired of settling for generic fishing gear? Say hello to Bullseye Bait and Tackle, O'Fallon's one-stop shop for serious anglers. Live bait, premium tackle, rods, reels, and an unbeatable selection of lures from top brands like Megabass, Zoom, and Berkley. Whether you're after bass, catfish, crappie, or bluegill, they've got the gear to help you land the big one. Plus, their expert team, led by Mark and Liz, provides rod and reel repair services. Bullseye Bait and Tackle, 266 Fort Zumwalt Square, or at bullseyebaitandtackle.net.
Mike Ferguson.
Big guy, one of the biggest in the world.
Susie Moore.
Do you think he's ready?
He's not ready.
Can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
I have a feeling that by the end of this evening, I'm going to be blamed for everything.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Last week was National Law Enforcement, National Police Week.
Yeah.
Interesting dynamics happened. Every member or several Democrats in Illinois actually voted no on a resolution during National Police Week to just simply say thank you and honor law enforcement.
That is absolutely insane.
It's absolutely insane. So we're going to get to that in just a couple of minutes here. Our friend Tom Weitzel from our friends at Awake Illinois published a open letter basically to law enforcement, and it's kind of gone. I mean, I hate the term viral just because I hate that term because I think I'm of that age. I just hate that term. But it's getting sent around quite a bit. And Chief Weitzel joins us right now. And I'm looking over your letter here, Tom. Thanks for being on here. And let me read kind of one of the key points of this is that law enforcement, you mentioned how law enforcement and elected officials typically have stood shoulder to shoulder, your words. And you are speaking up about the recruiting and retention crisis and what you're calling dangerous legislation designed to handcuff law enforcement agencies, and then false narratives that erode public trust. All of those are coming from elected officials, and I would say probably bureaucratic officials too. So what is it that you want the law enforcement agencies to take from your letter and your experience as a officer and a chief in this day and age? Because you've gone from, when I'm reading your letter, what I'm hearing is, regardless of whether it was a Republican and Democrat, they at least supported law enforcement. Now we're in this dangerous us versus them era of things, especially in Illinois. So what is it you want law enforcement to reconsider or change when it comes to their operations or their presence?
Yeah, I did. And good morning, and thank you for having me. And yes, so I wrote that letter because it was National Law Enforcement Week, and what really, geared me to do that is the Chicago police officers that were shot in Chicago at Swedish Hospital. The one died, the other one is in critical condition, and I didn't hear this outcry, really, from law enforcement leadership. I heard people saying, it's a shame. This offender shouldn't have been out of custody. He should have been in custody. They were blaming judges. They were blaming the Safety Act. But that wasn't coming from law enforcement. I was like, where is the leader? We need to stand up. And then I went back to the days that I served. When I was chief for 15 years, I served on the Illinois Chiefs Legislative Committee, and the legislators would listen to us in Illinois. They would at least take our position. And before they pass the legislation or propose legislation, they would come and say, how does this affect policing? How does this affect your department? Is this going to cost you? Should we, put money in this, because they would pass a lot of unfunded mandates. They don't do that anymore. Ever since the George Floyd murder in Minneapolis, they have stopped seeking advice from law enforcement in general, and then the Police Chiefs Association. A great example of that was the Safety Act that passed at 5 o'clock in the morning. There was no input from policemen. I was still an active chief, and their response to us was, hey, don't worry about it. We want to get this passed, and if it isn't any good, we'll do trailer bills, and we'll clean it up for you. But they wanted to make a statement, and I always felt that we need to push back on that. Like the statement, this is a legislation that changes our profession, and you just want to make a statement. They're not coming to law enforcement to, ask us about legislation, because make no mistake, if people think defund the police is over, it's defund the police is over in the way it was. Now it's defund the police through legislation. That's the new approach here in Illinois. And I want leaders, respectively, I'm asking leaders, you got to stand up. Because the one thing that really got me and the officers that were shot is these are your officers. These are your employees. One of the obligations you have is to protect them. Training.
Uh-oh, Chief, you there? We lost the chief here.
Hey, can you hear us?
I think we need to get the chief back on. So, all right, our gremlins got back in there. We're talking with Awake, Illinois' retired police chief, Thomas Weitzel, 15 years as a police chief in Riverside, Illinois. Now, of course, he's involved in a lot of national organizations as well. So he published this open letter, which will tell you where you can read that here in a minute. But also, of course, J.B. Pritzker, unfortunately, not having any lack of content to deal with when it comes to law enforcement. We got the chief back here. Okay, so we got you back here. Okay, so what's the right way for law enforcement to step into that political arena, that policy arena? Because we want police to be nonpartisan, but nonpartisan is different than non-political, because they actually have an interest both as an interest group, but also because they're involved on the front lines of the policy itself. What's the right way for law enforcement to engage and to advocate?
Yeah, so they have to be a part of the process. They have to be at the table. There's no police chief here, at least that I know, of my colleagues, that thought they were going to get every win. They just want their opinions and their real life experiences to be taken into consideration when they're proposing or trying to pass legislation. They don't even seek that anymore. Like, just listen to us. You're not going to get everything you want. That's ridiculous. But what's happened is they're not practically, giving us practical solutions on this isn't going to work. This isn't going to work in daily policing. Like, this is why. So they need to advocate for that. Like step up and listen to us. But you also have to hold your ground. I mean, you have to. there are some issues here in Illinois that are worth going to the mat on. And what I mean for that is lots of times legislators would say, you know what, you support my issue here, and down the road I'm going to support your issue. Say the police want funding for equipment, squad cars, whatever, and they say I'm going to support your initiative. You know what? That support never came. We would support their legislation. Or in Illinois, you could go to neutral, which is all they wanted. So if the police chiefs were coming out against legislation, they were opposed. All the most of the Democrats wanted was either for us to support it or at least go neutral. They wanted a public statement on that. That's not even happening anymore. And there are some issues we shouldn't be doing that on. That we need to go down and say, you know, we're not going to do this on officer safety issues. We're not going to do this on public safety issues. We're not going to do this. If you can get it passed without our support, so be it. But we're not going to change our support just because you say that you'll support something for us down the line that never happens. And believe me, it never happened.
We're visiting again with Awake, Illinois retired police chief Tom Weitzel. Okay, you put something up on your X account the other day that kind of surprised me, and it shouldn't surprise me, but it did. I mean, at some point, like symbolic things were just kind of safe for all politicians, but over a dozen Democrats, congressional Democrats from Illinois, voted against, as in they voted no, on honoring law enforcement during National Police Week. They didn't even do the thing where they're like, oh, yeah, I wasn't in the chamber. I had to take a meeting. I didn't vote. They actually voted against a resolution honoring law enforcement during National Police Week. What on earth happened with that? I mean, that seems like going out of your way to pick a fight that you don't need to fight politically, which shows you just how anti-law enforcement some of these are.
Yeah, for sure. You know, I was personally involved in that through an organization I serve on called Citizens Behind the Badge. We helped part of that get them to the legislators in Washington because we thought it was an easy lift. The thing was, it's a resolution honoring law enforcement during Police Week. We didn't really think there'd be a lot of pushback from that. And over 173 Democrats totally voted against it, 14 in Illinois. And I was shocked when that happened because we're not trying to pass legislation or make statements, political statements. It was just honoring law enforcement during Law Enforcement Week. And it came out 10 days ahead of the FBI putting out their 24-25 report on assaults against the police officers, and it's at a 10-year high. So 10 days before this resolution, the FBI releases their report that a 10-year high assaults against police officers, and 173 Democrats vote against it. They don't say, like you said, they don't say they're absent, or they actually vote against this resolution.
Yeah, so what message is law enforcement hearing and seeing when they see their congressperson, their congress critter, vote no on a completely non-binding resolution that literally is just going to a parchment that gets framed and sent out to certain people? I mean, this has no legal force of law. It's just a resolution saying, hey, here's our thoughts on this. So when they vote no, how is that read on the street?
Yeah, Congress had a chance. They just had a chance to support law enforcement, and officers being attacked and murdered, and they refused. And what's that saying? It shows you of how divided the country is. Okay, so because you have 170 that won't vote for it, like we said, it's just a resolution. It shows that divide. And the minority leader said that a lot of his members did not vote for this because it referenced defund the police in the actual resolution, which was true. And, not only did they want to defund the police, they want to defame the police, and that was in the resolution. But, you have to remember this, the defund the police movement was initially supported and brought up by Democratic activists, and then they say that it's not truthful. That was one of the comments, like part of the resolution wasn't truthful. Ridiculous. It's not true. And believe me, law enforcement saw that. I mean, when you have 173 Democrats and 14 in Illinois, I mean, even I was shocked. I was shocked that I know Illinois, is really controlled by Democrats right now, but I was really shocked that all 14 of them actually did a no vote on nothing more than a resolution honoring in supporting police.
And on the converse side of that, Tom, and I suspect that most of your street-level criminals anywhere, they're probably not watching C-SPAN to see how the votes on resolutions went in Washington, D.C., but does this trickle down to messaging to those who cause problems? I mean, right now you got all the activists attacking law enforcement. They are watching politics. So we've talked about the messaging that's received from within the law enforcement community. What about the message received by those who would be attacking law enforcement? And again, basically your street level guy who wants to knock over a liquor store, probably not keeping track of HR or whatever resolution, this, that, and the other. They're not tracking that sort of thing. But the message does get down to agitators.
Yeah, for sure. It already get like for example, individuals that are, criminals or committing crimes these days, they fight with police all the time. They flee from police. You see it every day. Mm-hmm. Foot pursuits, car pursuits, because there's no accountability. And when you feel there's no accountability, these criminals feel there's no accountability, they're going to walk out the door, even if they do get arrested, which they do in Illinois. Mm-hmm. You get arrested on many of these, felony crimes, and you get a notice to appear, and you leave the police facility or you leave first appearance court. And then you have this type of resolution that only supports the fact that, the police have no authority, that's that type of atmosphere. Oh, nothing's going to happen to us. Nobody's really supporting the police here in Illinois. Even the politicians don't support the police. They're not passing these type of legislation to support the police or even help the police. That does trickle down. It trickles down to where we're not listening to you. Chaos takes place. Lawlessness takes place. You can see it in street takeovers, pursuits. They said in Illinois that the police pursuits is up 180%. I mean, they flee because they feel nothing's going to happen to them.
Yeah. All right, Tom, where do we read the letter and follow the work that you're doing? I mean, because I know it's been published a number of places, but people want to get in touch, follow what you're doing because you're doing the national stuff in addition to the Illinois stuff. What's the best way?
Yeah, the best way is to go to Awake, Illinois. I serve as I was appointed as a fellow of law enforcement for Awake, Illinois. They post all of my stuff there. They have a blog there. If you know Shannon, she's a great individual. So they do that. And I also serve as on the advisory council for Citizens Behind the Badge, which is an organization out of McLean, Virginia, a national organization that advocates for police and policing. So either of those entities are great resources for anything that I'm either putting out or posting.
All right,
and you can also follow me on my X account at Chief Weitzel.
Yep, which we've already tagged on ours. So, Chief, good talk to you again. Thanks so much.
Right. Have a great morning.
Okay, guess what's coming up June 2nd? That would be the St. Charles County primary debate.
Spoiler alert.
I know. It is the three contenders for St. Charles County Executive. They're going to be debating. We are putting this on with our friends from the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise and the St. Charles Republican Central Committee. Free event. No RSVP needed. It's going to be at the Scheidegger Center on Lindenwood University's campus. June 2nd at 7 o'clock. Now, doors are going to open way before that. So Chris and Tim are doing their show from the Scheidegger Center that day. Come on out, say hi. Susie and I will be among the panelists questioning the candidates. Jamie Allman is going to be the moderator for the event. So NewsTalkSTL, Hammond Institute, we're putting this thing together. More details at NewsTalkSTL.com. Put it on your calendar. Come on out and listen to the debate.
Let spring surprises ruin your comfort. Johnson Heating and Cooling in Wentzville is offering air conditioner checkups for just $99. We'll check your Freon, inspect your condensate hose, and test all electrical connections. Plus, we'll clean your system for no additional charge if you act before June 30th. Keep your home running smoothly this season. Visit Johnson-heatingandcooling.com. That's Johnson-heatingandcooling.com. Johnson Heating and Cooling. Your comfort, our priority.
Hi, I'm Dr. Alan Link, owner of the Dental Link. You've heard ads about teeth in a day, but did you know that you will be chewing on plastic, acrylic teeth? Here at the Dental Link, we can give you porcelain crown and bridge teeth utilizing mini dental implants that function much more like real teeth at about half the cost. Plus, mini dental implants are less invasive, less painful, and your recovery time is much shorter. Give us a call at 314-794-6464 or simply visit us today at thedentallink.com.
Democracy is loud, and on Tuesday, June 2nd, you can be right in the middle of it. News Talk STL is bringing the St. Charles County Executive Primary Debate to Lindenwood University in St. Charles at the J. Scheidegger Center for the Arts. No reservations, no tickets, just show up. Can't make it in person? Catch every word live on News Talk STL from 7 to 8:30 p.m. The St. Charles County Executive Primary Debate on June 2nd. Brought to you by the St. Charles County Republican Central Committee, Mid-Rivers News Magazine, Lewis & Clark's Pachyderms Club, and the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University.
Whether you need an LS conversion, a suspension lift, major repairs, or just routine maintenance, there's one name you can trust under the hood. Hardin's Complete Auto. Julius Hardin and his ASE certified team handle it all, from everyday service to specialty builds, with the skill and experience your vehicle deserves. Don't take chances with your automobile. Leave it to the professionals. Call Julius directly at 314-267-5099. That's 314-267-5099.
1949, the last time a Republican held the top post in St. Louis City. A gallon of milk was 84 cents and streetcars ran down Grand Avenue. Unfortunately, St. Louis City streets are no longer the epicenter of family and business life. In the 80 years of Democrat control, our city has been on a steady decline.
Hello, Kirk Ilsinger, chairman of the Republican Party for the city of St. Louis, and we believe it is our duty to provide a different path forward. I invite you to our meetings the first Thursday of every month. Learn more at stl-gop.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
News, analysis.
I'm glad you're talking about this.
Opinion.
I'm glad you're fired up about it, too, because I know I am.
News Talk STL.
The Mike Ferguson Show is one of my favorite programs. In addition to Larry Connor's USA, catch my program at 6. Now, back to Mike.
All right. Apparently, the "I'm leaving this country if I don't get my way" crowd meant it.
Oh.
A lot of them meant it, yeah. Wow. There's a cottage industry that's growing which caters to people who want out of America.
America.
Yes. I think this is fascinating.
I don't understand why anybody would want to leave, though, but okay.
Well, let me put that question out there on the table because I'm gonna come back around to this. Would you, and I'm asking this to everybody watching, listening, would you ever live somewhere else? Would you become an expat? Would you go live somewhere else at any point? Not talking about politics, but would you consider living somewhere else in the world?
If I had to answer off the top of my head, I would say maybe, potentially, possibly Poland, or it's either Denmark or Finland.
Okay, so in a few minutes, I want to know why, because those are not countries I would have expected somebody to say. And so I'm curious there. 8:24 right now. By the way, I want to correct something because I'm like really big on getting stuff right. In that last news dump, I was talking about that new grant program that the Department of Education was talking about to help people get certifications in, the trades, basically. The news copy that I got said it was for recent college graduates. Susie went, wait, we did a story on this and we looked it up. That news copy was wrong. It is for recent high school graduates, not college graduates.
Oh,
so I know most people probably that just kind of went, but it's really big to me if I get something wrong on the air that I want to get it right and let you know what the actual facts are.
You are surprisingly consistent with keeping track of your own errors and trying to correct them.
I do my best,
Just stop making the errors, though.
Well, yeah, I'm trying to do that too. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I saw this story on CNBC this morning, and it was published Sunday. It was published on Sunday. The headline is this: Americans are leaving the U.S. in record numbers and spending hundreds to learn how to do it. And so what they basically did is they stopped in at this conference in San Diego, and the entire conference was to offer resources to people who are here in the country legally. We're talking American citizens now who want to go live somewhere else and stop living in America, for a variety of different reasons. But get this, from this CNBC article, A record number of Americans are leaving the U.S. The country saw a net negative migration of between 10,000 and 295,000 people in 2025, according to research from the Brookings Institution. Now, Brookings Institution is left of center, but this is just like looking at facts and data. The article goes on to say the widest estimated range was among people who left voluntarily, with Brookings estimating that between 210 and 405,000 people did so last year. It's the first time in at least 50 years that more people moved out of the United States than moved into the United States. And then they go on to say that deportations and shutting down the border obviously is a major factor on this. But they did a focus on a company called Expatsy that offers relocation tours for Americans. So you want to go somewhere else, you want to live somewhere else, you want to retire somewhere else, they will help you. They're the service that does this, and they have this conference, for lack of a better term, in San Diego, and then here's the bigger picture. Then you got breakout sessions. You can learn about visas and taxes and legalities and insurance and all that kind of stuff, the stuff that you're actually going to need to know if you decide to leave somewhere else. And here's what's funny. They did a survey of 600 Americans from around the country who attended. 89% said they want to leave the U.S. because of politics. 9 out of 10 people who are ready to leave are following through with Orange Man bad, or they cited things like abortion laws and stuff like that. But politics to where they want to go to another country.
Okay, well, if that's your biggest issue, it's not, hey, there are roving warlords out there attacking us. Or it's not, hey, that there are cartels that are going to be coming after. It's literally, I don't like the politics of this current moment. Then, okay, I will support you. I will actually make a donation to them on the condition that these people also renounce their citizenship formally.
And then it's a one-way ticket?
One-way ticket, and you have to formally on paper renounce your citizenship.
Yeah, and one of the most popular destinations people want to move to along those lines, Mexico. Really?
Interesting.
That doesn't seem like you're thinking that one out very well. But listen,
I would have thought Canada, to be honest.
I think you should live wherever you want to live. I mean, listen, but what's funny is that when you're looking at moving out, I don't think there's a lot of conservatives who are moving out of the country because of politics right now. Now, there may be some conservatives who are moving out of California, but they're going to Texas. There may be conservatives who are leaving Illinois, but they're going to Missouri or Indiana.
Hey.
Yes, like you. There are conservatives who are leaving New York State, but they're going to Florida. And so in this case, you're talking about a couple 100,000. Now, first of all, I'm actually going to tip my cap a little bit to feeling so strongly about your convictions that you are willing to uproot and leave and go to another part of the world. Even if I think that is a silly reason to leave, I do respect the dedication to it.
There is a greater difference between the United States and Canada culturally than there is between California and Texas culturally. So the fact that you are willing to uproot everything because you just think that you're going to be better off in that culture, I mean, great.
And it's fewer left-wing votes.
Yes.
In the United States.
That's the big thing is less people, if you want to live in your little weird socialist, leftist, liberal dystopia and you want to experience that, at least you put your money where your mouth is.
Yes, and that I respect. And it's funny because, some people are like, I'd never leave. Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm nowhere near retirement age, but it's on the horizon at some point. I'm like, I could do a warm climate. I could do Caribbean for retirement. I'm not going to say never. Let's put it that way. There are situations where I'm like, you know what? I would be okay living in a nice beachy warm climate, in a small house somewhere. I could do that. So I'm not even against people. I don't think that that an allegiance or a loyalty to the country means that I would never consider living somewhere else if the right opportunity is somewhere else, because I'm just more individualistic than that.
Yeah, and I've been to Canada and I've been to Brazil, and both where we were at least were very beautiful, nice areas. Not necessarily places I would consider living forever, but I would go back for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, or even like I said, I was in Puerto Rico earlier. Now, Puerto Rico is a U.S. territory, so I wasn't out of the country. But I got a taste of Caribbean life.
Ooh,
I liked it.
Oh, Brazil.
I enjoyed it.
Yes, you Brazil, and I think the Caribbean areas. I think that there's just something about that lifestyle that's very appealing.
But there are also some cultural things as well. Like, I'm getting targeted with all these Facebook reels, and it's probably because of being a male and the age that I'm at. It's this thing that says, here's what $189,000 buys you in Bali. Here's what it buys you in Thailand. Here's what it buys you. And then you have, a very attractive young woman taking you through this luxurious house because the dollar goes so much further. And so I know that there are particularly older men, in their 60s and even 70s who are saying, you know what? I've only got so much money. Inflation is really getting expensive. I can live a much more comfortable life financially in one of these other spots. And I get that. Now, that's different than the passport bros who are just like, I'm going to go find myself a woman from some other country, and, she'll think she's living luxuriously because there's an indoor toilet, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about guys who are like, well, I can spend, $5,000 a month trying to keep my head above water in retirement here in America, depending on where you live, or I can go to one of these other places and be just fine for $1,200 a month. I get that.
Yeah, Eddie Murphy's got a really good joke about exactly that, how to find the right woman. Now, Jay Cause, I think, puts it beautifully, is that a lot of people just don't realize how easy we have it here, how good we have it.
That's true.
But to the other side, Crimson King, good morning, Crimson.
Who's new, by the way.
Yeah, welcome to the chat box. People don't want to come here anymore.
There's from some areas that's true.
I know Canadians don't.
Yeah,
many don't.
Yeah,
well,
yeah. I mean, there are people who want to and aren't let in, but there are other areas where there are people who say they don't desire to come here. Yeah, to some degree, it's a mixed bag. In some cases, true. In some cases, not so much. But there are some areas where that's true.
But given how many active immigration requests are in the paperwork to actually come here legally, I would argue that that's not the case. It's just we can't just let everybody in here that wants to come in.
Yeah, for the most part, we're not letting people in. But there are some areas, particularly in Europe, where people are saying, well, I don't really have a desire to go there anymore, and a lot of that's over politics. They also have this vision from their media and stuff that basically everybody is shooting everybody everywhere in the country.
Yes, that's also the thing. Is that despite their knife crime being higher than our gun crime per capita, they think that we're all just shooting each other and that they're all safe over there.
But if we open the floodgates again, we'd be overwhelmed again. But there are parts of the world where that absolutely is true. It is true. But so I'll throw it out there on social media there. So, would you consider living somewhere else in the world? And if so, where? I'm just curious what you would say about that.
With that being said, the fight over Missouri's new congressional map is not over. There's another lawsuit we're going to update you about coming up here at 8:35.
Let's take off. Let's go get lost. All the way down to Mexico. It's a place.
Did you do that on purpose? That bump music?
I'm a little cheeky sometimes.
Dead daisies. All right. Okay. We've talked about just all the different ways you can improve your home and not just make it more valuable out there financially, but also just a better place to live. I love walking through different parts of the metro area, and you see these beautiful homes, especially all that stonework and brickwork. And a lot of those folks work with my friends at Lee Concrete Block. Mike Ferguson here for Lee Concrete Block. They've been supplying St. Louis since 1947. LeeMayBlock.com. Here's how this works. It doesn't matter if you're looking for that retaining wall or that garden wall, maybe the freestanding or seating wall on your patio, whatever it is. They've got everything you need to make it happen. So you bring in your idea to Lee May Block, and they will show you what you need to make that a reality. And if you want to see some just beautiful projects that they have helped supply, just go to LeeMayBlock.com, and this is the time to do it. Listen, they've got decades of experience. They've been here since 1947. They know quality. They know reliability. They have got the products that are going to make your home not just beautiful, but they're going to be durable and they're going to be unique. And when people walk by in the spring, in the summer, in the fall, they're going to say, I wish my house looked like that. And I tell you, it's going to make your home more valuable and more beautiful. And you just have that pride of your home being someplace special. They are also trusted by the professionals themselves, and that's a key to knowing you're doing business with the right people. Proud member of the Concrete Council Masonry Institute, Missouri Contractors Association. This is where the professionals go to get their supplies. It's where you should go as well. A-plus rating with the BBB. LeMayBlock.com. You can look at everything they have to offer right there on the website. Go give them a visit. They will get you set up so your home can be someplace even more special.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Chance Gotch with your first alert forecast. We're going to be tracking afternoon highs towards the upper 70s, some scattered showers and storms. Still a first alert weather day, as we could see some isolated chances of some of those becoming a little bit stronger later on, but still in a flood watch till a little bit later today. Then into Wednesday, things calm back down. Mostly cloudy skies, highs towards the upper 60s, approaching 70. By Thursday, 72 degrees, mostly cloudy. Friday, more chances of showers and storms. Temperatures continue to rise, though, through Memorial Day weekend. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Gotch.
Fox News commentary with Johnny Joey Jones. Next.
When I started skiing, I didn't think about setting any records. When I won my first race, I didn't think about how many more I might win. So when I made it to the top of the world, it never crossed my mind to stop. Being the best isn't the same as being your best. There are no shortcuts to the top, so find the people who help get you there. I'm Michaela Schifrin, and that's what Team Stiefel means to me. If you're an advisor or an investor, choose Stiefel, where success meets success.
Stiefel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Past performance is no indication of future results. Investing involves risk. Consult a financial advisor before making any investment decisions.
Here's Johnny Joey Jones.
When it comes to Comey, you were the director of the FBI, the lead investigator in the country. If you don't know what 8647 is, you should have the mind that works like, I wonder what that is. Let me see what that is. You should have an inquisitive mind. Your entire career was predicated on figuring out puzzles. That's who you are. But you don't know what that means? I'm sorry, but at the end of the day, if he had come out and said, hey, you know what? I meant that very benign, but it could be taken the wrong way, or it could be taken to the extreme, and I know that, and I shouldn't have posted it, it would be a nothing burger at this point. The fact that he tries to, and I use this saying all the time because Democrats do it, spit in my face and tell me it's raining, to tell me, oh, I didn't know what that meant. That's enough that I just sit here and like, well, get him, burn him. Because if you're going to lie to me that blatantly, what else have you lied to me about?
For more commentary like this, go to foxnewspodcast.com.
Looking for a great place to play golf and host your next event? Sugar Creek Golf Course in High Ridge is more than just exceptional golf. Our clubhouse is the perfect spot for private parties, family get-togethers, and unforgettable celebrations. Make your special day even better with our welcoming atmosphere and outstanding service. Visit sugarcreekgolfcourse.com for more information. That's sugarcreekgolfcourse.com, where great golf and great memories meet. sugarcreekgolfcourse.com.
Rhino Shield is engineered to outlast paint, formulated to outsmart the elements. Rain or shine, sleet or snow, mold or mildew. Our home exterior coatings intelligently designed to stand up to Mother Nature. Call 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com.
License number GL250000615.
Hey, Dad, what causes drains to clog?
Grease, hair, soap scum, and tree roots.
Tree roots?
This town has old pipes and big trees. They find each other.
They grow inside pipes?
They bust into pipes.
Whoa.
Once they're in, the water stops flowing.
Can we fix it?
The big green grasser machine can fix any clog.
Green is always grasser at grasserhomeservices.com.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
I listen to News Talk STL on the app driving to work.
Download the News Talk STL app.
You got to get the News Talk STL app.
Love the app. Can listen anywhere in St. Louis.
And listen anytime. News Talk STL right on my phone. Anywhere.
Hey, Chris Arps from the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. Make sure that you're listening to our show this afternoon from 4 to 6. Now back to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show.
Just saw a news thing pop up on my social media feed here. It looks like it's from the Fox TV affiliate in Kansas City. The headline is this: Kansas City man detained after attempting to ride a shopping cart down Interstate 35 at 3 a.m. with a sail fashioned from a shower curtain. I'm sorry, I thought this was America.
I thought this was America. Do we not reward ingenuity
No
and innovation
kidding.
in this country anymore?
Leave the man alone. Because freedom.
He stole my idea.
Oh, my goodness. All right. We got to talk about these maps thing here, this gerrymandering thing in Missouri. The left-wing activist group that's trying to challenge Missouri's new congressional maps, we're talking about the new gerrymandered one, they're back in court now. Now, if nothing else, they're plucky. I used that word earlier. They're plucky. They're not giving up. So here's basically what's going on. Is the group is called People Not Politicians. You've heard us reference that. They're essentially the basis for that petition that's trying to put the new map on the ballot. And so to kind of set the stage, their argument is if they get enough signatures verified in their referendum, then the people of Missouri will vote on whether to accept the map that the legislature passed or reject the map that the legislature passed. Okay, this gets really complicated because it's layer after layer after layer of stuff. As you know, last year, the Missouri legislature gerrymandered the map to give Republicans one more seat in Congress.
They mandered our Jerrys.
And I'm just saying that is just as a matter of fact. You know, we're basically in gerrymandering wars between the two parties at this point, and I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon. My guess is at least through the rest of the Trump administration is that you're going to see more gerrymandering in more states. I think that's what's going to happen.
Well, I've seen, I don't know how accurate it is, but I've seen a proposal for what the national districting would look like and how actually much more red it would look if everybody got their way on the Republican side. I can't imagine the Democrats are going to take that lightly.
No, and so what's happening here is the Democrats would lose one vote out of Missouri. They would lose Emanuel Cleaver's vote on the western side of the state. The district number 1 in St. Louis would be basically unchanged. It's still preserving the Democratic seat. So they have first tried to argue that the legislature didn't have the authority to redistrict mid-decade. They tried to argue that they could only do it after a new census. Well, the court said, no, there's nothing that says they can't do that. So they have the authority to do it. Then they sued, saying that the maps that they drew violated the state constitution and they weren't compact, et cetera, et cetera. And the courts have said, no, it's close enough for government work. There's nothing egregious about it, so they've allowed both of those. Okay, so now what they're doing is they're saying we've turned in enough signatures to put this on the referendum. Therefore, the map should be paused and we should use the old maps. Okay, this is where it gets complicated. The Secretary of State has until August 4th to certify that referendum. It sure looks like they have enough signatures. The People Not Politicians group is arguing that in their lawsuit, they're saying just the local officials, the local election officials, county clerks and election boards who are in charge of verifying the signatures from their counties, they are claiming that there are already more than enough to get it on the ballot. That may very well be true. I have no reason to believe that's not true. So here's the thing. They're saying because we believe there are enough verified signatures already, they're asking the court to make the Secretary of State certify this for the ballot now. Well, Secretary of State Denny Hoskins has made it very clear. He's said it on this show. He's going to wait until the last day. He has acknowledged that they likely have enough signatures. So he has said the law says I have to do it by August 4th, no later than August 4th. That's when he's going to do it. Assuming that they check out and they've got the numbers, which I think they do, he'll do it on August 4th. That happens to be the primary election day. That's just kind of the way it shook out this year. So here's the thing. Now we're looking at a whole other set of which maps are we using. According to the state of Missouri, the Secretary of State, the governor, the legislature, the attorney general, the new map is the map. That's it. But then the question is, but if there's a signature, if there's a referendum to challenge that map and put it up for a vote, well, now what? Because if the voters reject it, then do we go back to the previous map? You say, Mike, that sounds really complicated. Well, yeah, it is. And so we could, in Missouri, just from that court drama and the political drama, we could be looking at a chaotic general election season with lawsuits moving through super fast, arguing over literally who gets to vote where. And then we've got both Republican and Democratic election officials who are saying, guys, it takes a long time for us to prepare the voter rolls so that everybody's ballot is accurate. When Mike Ferguson goes to vote, that it says it gives me the right congressional district to choose from, or not to choose from, but the right congressional district for the candidates on there. That's not a simple thing. And so we're looking at a lot of problems and likely a whole bunch of further lawsuits that are going to be filed at a breakneck pace. So here's where we're at. Listen, I've been in policy and I've been in politics and I've been in media in Missouri for a long time, going on 30 years. I don't know of any law that says once the number is verified at the local level that the Secretary of State is required to do this early. There's nothing that says he shall do this early.
So we're almost in uncharted territory at this point.
Well, if the court says, yes, he has to certify it, that would be uncharted territory. Because right now what's happening is the law says it must be done by this date, but there's nothing that says you have to do it as soon as possible. It just says by this date. And for political partisan reasons, the Secretary of State has said, nah, we're going to wait. I don't have to do it until then. That's when I'll do it. And so that's his right. Because what the activist group is, the leftist activist group is arguing is at least do it now so that we can go ahead and have it out in court.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the filing period is already closed. Matter of fact, today is the last day for a candidate to withdraw from a race if they want to get off the ballot. And so the filing period, nobody else can get in, and they filed to run for office based on the new map, based on the new districts. So this could be an absolute mess just based on the legalities of it, especially if it turns out there are enough signatures. And then there's a whole question as to whether or not this is something that can be even overturned by a statewide vote. I think it might be. There is some precedent of that in Missouri. But between August 4th and the November general election, this is going to be interesting in Missouri.
Oh, that adds a whole nother layer of complicity to this.
Yeah, it is nuts. It is absolutely nuts.
It's almost as nuts as people that miss out on part of our segments but don't go back to listen to it on the podcast.
Almost
as nuts.
Not quite.
Those people, sometimes I get it, but either way, in case you weren't aware, we do upload the entire show without the ads as a podcast after the show on Mike Ferguson in the Morning. I personally like to use Omni and the NewsTalkSTL website because we have these little markers that I put in there. So you could say, well, I listened to the first chunk, but what they say for the second chunk? Just go to the marker, press play, and you'll pick up right where you left off.
Just make sure you subscribe. That's it.
And subscribe so it goes into your email too. That's a good idea.
Mike Ferguson in the Morning.
Our country was founded by geniuses, but it's being run by idiots.
On News Talk STL.
Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros and Exteriors, your all-in-one service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. Christine and I discovered Gutter Pros and Exteriors when we bought our home and inherited a gutter problem. And they've also repaired siding damage on our home because along with gutter repair, gutter installation, and leaf protection, the Gutter Pros team are also the best for repairing other exterior damage, including fascia, soffit, and all siding repair and installation. Learn about all the ways Gutter Pros and Exteriors can help your home or business right now at gutterpros.com.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli. We're sitting here with our great friend, Chris Cooper. Hi, Chris.
What's going on, Vic? How are you?
I hear you wrote another book. This one's an e-book. Is that right?
The Business Owner's Playbook for Financial Clarity. So it is a great book for entrepreneurs, a very short guide. Give people, business owners, the ability to understand key questions that are important, such as succession planning, legacy planning, getting the IRS out of our pockets, right? Because do you like paying taxes?
I do not.
I don't think anybody likes paying taxes, right? That just makes sense. And then always talking about protection. And then the other thing from a business owner perspective, what is the biggest asset a business owner has? Probably their business itself, right? We need to make sure we understand what the value of that business is as well.
So this new book, I'm sure, is incredibly expensive, right? How much?
No, it's a free resource.
Oh, it's free.
We provide guidance, we provide education because we want to make sure people feel educated and understanding because sometimes you don't know what questions to ask, and we need to make sure we help arm people with information to ask the right question.
Reach out to Chris and Stacy today at SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
Looking for a hardware store that treats you like family? Welcome to True Value Schneider's Hardware, your local gem in Old Town St. Peters. For over 100 years, we're proudly serve you St. Charles County, providing everything from lawn and garden supplies to plumbing and electrical. Need a bolt or fastener? We've got you covered. And don't forget, we're a steel dealership. Whether you need sales, parts, or service, ask for Charlie or Jerry when you come in. We're here to help. Call 636-278-4461 or visit us online at truevalue.com/Schneiders.
Colombo and Company.
Trump said he paused a planned attack on Iran due to serious negotiations underway. Will they lead to an agreement? We'll talk about it Tuesday, plus Susie Moore and AI expert Mike McCleary.
Live and local, weekdays at 2
on Newstalk STL.
Hey folks, Jamie Allman here, waiting for you for the 3 Martini Lunch, the Common Sense Radio, the Allman Report on Newstalk STL. Now back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Man, there's a lot going on today. By the way, the social media comments and chat boxes, there were a lot of spicy debates that were happening, on a lot of different issues.
And if you're like me and you like to join in on internet arguments, you can always join us on our social media to get into the conversation.
That's right. And by the way, there was some folks on the different platforms. Not conservative, not libertarian. We welcome you to the conversation. I appreciate you being there.
Yeah, just be polite. You know,
Yeah, I mean,
don't swear at people. Don't say I smell bad. You know.
Yeah, I mean, debate ideas, but a couple folks who are like clearly have a different take than the typical conservative media audience, and I love it. I love that there were a lot of debates going on. So welcome, bring it on. We had a Democratic, pretty far left state representatives call in because he heard what we're talking about and wanted to make a point about policy issue. What do? Great. Pause what we're doing. Get the perspective on.
Yeah.
I love that stuff. I just,
Well, if I can't defend my belief when I'm challenged on it, I probably shouldn't be espousing that belief to others, right?
There you go. That doesn't stop most people on the internet. Yeah. Yeah,
true.
Yeah, that's right. All right, 8:52. We got time for another news dump, right? Let's do another quick one here.
The Morning News Dump.
Are you joking? Is this a joke?
Listen, folks. The Morning News Dump.
Okay, so we're not bombing the crap out of Iran at the moment.
Are they still begging us to make a deal?
Who's begging who to make a deal?
Well, for the past 2 months, I thought Iran was begging, just absolutely begging to make a deal.
Both sides are saying the other side's wanting them to make a deal.
Oh.
Okay. Also, police say 2 teenagers attack a mosque in what's being described as a hate-motivated crime, and Cardinals allegedly are going to play today. I'm looking at the weather forecast. I'm not so sure about that. But I'll tell you what's supposed to happen. 8:53. Let's go ahead and squeeze in this other news dump here.
We just did the soundbite for the news.
Did we do? We did that. Sorry. Okay.
You need more coffee, Mike.
No, I do need more coffee. That is absolutely true. Okay. President Trump was at the White House giving an update into his decision to postpone a military strike on Iran, and published reports say leaders in the Middle East have been asking him to hold off.
I've put it off for a little while, hopefully maybe forever, but possibly for a little while, because we've had very big discussions with Iran, and we'll see what they amount to.
And the president says that the talks have been going well with Iran, but he maintains that the regime must never be allowed to have a nuclear weapon.
That's probably for the best idea.
Yeah, well, I don't know anybody out there who thinks that, thinks that Iran should have a nuclear weapon. So, I mean, everything else about it, obviously highly controversial and debatable, but we'll see how it turns out.
More nuclear energy, less nuclear bombs. That would be good for everybody.
Yes. It's interesting because we're literally at war right now. I know it's not been officially declared, but we're at war right now, and I sense that there's not a lot of people in America paying attention to it.
No.
Yeah. All right. An area state representative, actually a few different state representatives, want a special session called in order to suspend Missouri's 29.5 cents per gallon gas tax. Tricia Burns' suggestion is similar to a proposal in Congress that would suspend the collection of the federal gas tax, that's 18.4 cents per gallon. No response from the governor at this point. As of this morning, AAA says the average price for a gallon of gasoline in the state is $4.53. Generally speaking, it's less than that around here in the St. Louis area. I do not expect that the governor is going to call that special session. I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, and Saturday I talked with Patrice Muka from Independent Women's Forum to talk about energy prices, what we're seeing with the economy, and she's predicting that it'll probably be about a year or so before we can get anywhere close to where we're at, but we are in the right direction for the start.
Last couple of days, it's starting to go down. Now, if things heat up in the Middle East again, it goes back up. So, I mean, the higher prices right now are directly related to the war against Iran. I mean, and nobody can argue it.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Okay, 3 people are dead after 2 shooters opened fire at the Islamic Center of San Diego Monday afternoon. Now, the suspects are also dead, so 5 people in all have been killed. Local police say that they are investigating this as a hate crime under California law. The city's police chief, his name is Scott Wall, tells reporters that between 50 and 100 officers entered that building looking for the attackers.
Our initial officers that got on scene did not engage with the suspects in the parking lot. They began to make entry into the Islamic Center. They observed 3 deceased bodies outside of the center.
Okay, the shooters have been identified as 17-year-old Kane Clark and then either 18 or 19 years old. I've seen multiple reports on this. Caleb Velasquez. Both of them were found dead a short distance from the Islamic Center. Died of self-inflicted gunshot wounds. At least one of their shooter's mothers had reported him as suicidal, having taken guns, having run away, or was missing. And so police were actively looking for at least one of them, knowing they were dangerous. And, of course, we're going to get a lot more information regarding this in the coming day, 2 days, 3 days in this situation. So, we all know I'm not a fan of the Islamic theology by any stretch. However, targeting people and killing them because of their ideology and because of their religion is every bit as evil. If that's what happened here, and early evidence is that's what happened here.
Yeah, there's never an excuse to murder civilians, non-combatants, but if you are in this mindset, call 988 and talk to somebody about this. Don't be one of these evil morons that do stuff like this.
Yeah, and so there's going to be a lot more information coming here pretty quick. Let's see here. What else we got going on? Okay, so the Cardinals are scheduled to play today. I don't know if you've seen this forecast.
No, good luck.
I don't know that that's going to happen or not, but the Cardinals, weather permitting, start a series with the Pirates tonight. First pitch is scheduled to be at 6:45 with Matthew Liberatore on the mound. Again, I don't know that that's going to happen, but maybe. I mean, maybe the weather is going to move through and they're going to be able to get the game in, but we'll see. But as of right now, here's what's interesting with the Cardinals. In the division, as of this moment, the Cardinals are only 1 game out of first place.
Oh.
Yep. Now, they're in third place because the Brewers are a half game behind the Cubs, but the Cardinals are only 1 game out of first place, meaning if this series goes well, they could lead the division.